Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Hey, welcome everybody. It's a Tuesday edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, along with G. Bush and Tyvis Powell. I'm Adam the Bull, Mikey McNuggets, and Anthony on the other side of the glass. On today's show, Jay Crawford has officially lost his mind. There's
You start immediately out the gates with that?
There's no doubt about it. Plus, we spend 45 minutes breaking down the halftime show. If you don't like the music, just don't watch. What's the problem here? Shut the bleep up, please.
Who didn't like the music?
I don't. I see people whining on Twitter. Oh, it's terrible. Then don't watch it. Don't watch it. Who cares?
Mission accomplished.
My God.
They just basically they told on themselves. They didn't understand what it was.
I wasn't interested. It's not my cup of tea. Did I cry about it? No, I just didn't watch it.
That message went woof.
By the way, I shut off the TV at the end of the second quarter, and I never turned it back on. It wasn't worth watching the second half.
By the way, why?
You didn't want to see Mahomes score?
No.
Why are people so infatuated with it was not a good game? Like, if I'm a Chiefs fan or Eagles fan, my goal is not to have a good game. If we blow you out, great. Thank you. I'm excited.
If you're an Eagles fan, it's a great game.
It was a tie.
I'm looking
for a good game. No, I'm not. I'm looking for somebody to get punished.
You know what, though? Because the funny part is they say this isn't a good game where they literally had a pick six. You had deep balls getting caught, all these things, pause.
I thought it was one-sided.
But here, when it was when the Rams played the Patriots and it was like 9-3,
terrible.
It was terrible.
Well, Tyvis, what
do you want?
You can't have a high-scoring, close game. That is possible.
No, I don't know. I like it. I actually like the 9-3 game better.
Fine, I'd rather watch. I like the 9-3 game better than this. It was boring, but not if you're an Eagles fan.
I like blowouts. I want to see people get smoked.
And I liked it because I hate the Chiefs.
I don't even hate the
Darren
Chiefs.
texted me. He was like, all right, you can bust my chops now as much as you want. I was like, Darren,
rolled.
The game busted your chops enough.
Yeah,
they got rolled.
They got T-rolled.
They offensive line got destroyed.
I heard Travis Kelce got his AARP card after the game.
Oh, listen, man. I told him he had that haircut looking like a party of five. He had that party of five haircut. I said, "Dang, bro, you look like a 80s sitcom. Like you look like you had that Jonathan Taylor Thomas, bro."
It's crazy how the people you date can change your appearance. Because, like, the old Travis Kelce used to rock the beard and all those things.
Well, that's when he was dating black women.
Exactly. He get with Taylor Swift, say the whole thing, rock the mustache.
See how Bull just came out and gave you that? Tyvis called himself trying to be politically correct. Yeah. It's funny how you change the when you deal with a different culture. As you're dating them, they tend to change.
Bull is a straight shooter. When you date black people.
Black women tell you exactly how to dress. Hey, you cut your hair that way, and you we going to Red Lobster after this.
Is Red Lobster still around?
Yes.
Or has some Wall Street guys destroyed the business? That's what Wall Street guys do, by the way.
No, I'm serious. So our friend Sir Yacht's been on the show once or twice.
Yeah.
He did a challenge, or one of his videos. I ate only Red Lobster all-you-can-eat shrimp for like 7 days straight. And a week after, they went out of business, and he joked, I literally put them out of business, and I'm not sure if they're back. But I know for a fact that they had at least declared for bankruptcy at some point in 24.
Yeah, you know what? They went out of business because, as usual, bunch of rich scumbags bought these businesses. They sell them for parts. All the people that barely getting by lose their jobs. And, then we complain about the economy.
We have to start calling them the oligarchs.
Yeah.
We are feudal. They're feudal lords.
Yeah, they do whatever they want.
We are peasants working the fields.
They just say it's fraud, and then we have to take it.
Yeah.
By the way, not a surprise. As soon as Chris Jones shook hands with President Trump, everything went downhill from there. I'm just saying. That's just a fact.
Oh, my goodness.
Once he sold out, and then there you go. All right.
He watched the halftime show and then he left.
People hate me.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. No, I'm not.
We are going to get into DeAndre Hunter's.
We'll get into DeAndre Hunter.
We're going to talk about DeAndre Hunter. We got Zac Jackson joining us. We're going to talk about some quarterback rumors. We're going to talk about the Cavs over-under win total for the season. Before we do that, and before Tyvis spreads some insight on some of the Earl stuff,
I think I'd rather hear about Earl first. Should we hear about Earl first?
Before the Super Bowl rant?
Yeah, I'll go on the Super Bowl rant. But let's,
Tyvis,
because I'm going to be mean. So let's hear this.
I talked to Earl today. It's obviously everybody understands the situation that he's going through. We shared texts, and he was telling me he wanted me to give you guys a message. He said that he sees all the love and he appreciates all of what y'all are doing and the support that he's getting on all of his socials. He said when he comes back, he will address everybody, but he really loves y'all, and it's not a cliche, it's real. He said that he said thank you, and he said that if you want to do something to honor him, he said love on your people while you can. That's from Earl. And when Earl comes back, you'll see he'll drop it's going to be like when Michael Jordan come back, the facts going to come back and just say, I'm back.
You see, I was going to get mad, but I'm like, man, he didn't send me that text message, but I figured, like, if he would have sent me that, I would have read it when he got back, because it would have been already 2 weeks later.
That's true.
I'm like, yeah, Earl said, oh, man, never mind, Earl here today, go ahead. No disrespect.
You was in the chat today. You responded when I sent the package deal. The Guardians package deal.
But that was late. It was 5 minutes before you got in.
Oh my
goodness. You know what I'm saying?
Well, boy, didn't even see it.
I was more lost than you were on that.
Yeah, you was like, huh? That's a good deal.
Yeah. So yesterday, I was not here. We're to our schedule where everybody's working 3 days or less a week. And so I'm not working Mondays and Fridays for the most part. And the only time that's frustrating is when Jay goes on one of his propaganda.
Where do he get that schedule?
I know, right? It's the perfect schedule. He got longer weekends.
He said I don't work on weekends.
He got 4-day weekends.
Mondays,
that's basically
Fridays.
He just openly admitted that he got 4-day weekends.
This guy low-key worked Wednesday. I work Wednesday for an hour.
That's the heck of a schedule right
continue on.
It is a good
Monday
schedule.
and Friday.
That's wild.
Hey. Although I do get FOMO on Mondays sometimes if there's something like the Super Bowl.
I mean, if you do this show, you will get FOMO.
Absolutely. So I didn't even. First of all, I didn't even realize that G and Jason were on the show because Jay didn't stop talking the first 30 minutes of the show.
He get excited. You know what I'm saying? It's like how when you if you have a dog and you ain't seen him in about 3 weeks, he be coming back. You be like, okay, dog,
take it easy.
Take it easy.
What's happening?
He be like, you going outside? You trying to feed me? You trying to throw this frisbee? I see you over there. Let me pat my hair, pat my back.
I gotta get on a Monday or a Friday. I haven't seen Jay in almost. It's felt like a year. Go ahead.
Yeah. So to me, he was talking out of both sides of his mouth. He kept trying to make this argument that somehow this Super Bowl proves you don't need a quarterback to win a Super Bowl, or you don't need a top 5 quarterback. Okay? I don't know that there was a hard and fast rule ever that you needed a top 5 quarterback. Mm-hmm. I've said consistently for a long time that you need a tier 1 or tier 2 quarterback. And to me, the tier 1 quarterbacks are Mahomes, Jackson, Allen, and Burrow.
Well, it's Mahomes skip some.
Fine. Jackson, Allen, Burrow. To me, that's tier 1. If we got to skip some, I'm not saying in what order, whatever. Mahomes is still number 1, despite what happened the other day. All right? And then Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, is in a group of, it's some years 4, some years 6, maybe 7, maybe 5, tier 2 quarterbacks. Really good, need a little more around them than the tier 1 quarterbacks, right? After that, I don't believe you can win. Now, there was a time, years and years ago, where you could literally win with defense and running, and the quarterback was almost irrelevant. We saw that with Trent Dilfer. We saw it to some degree with Jim McMahon with the Bears. We saw it with Brad Johnson to some degree. And even that didn't happen that often, okay? But you could get away with you cannot, until proven otherwise, you cannot get away with that. You want to use Nick Foles as the one example in modern times? All right, maybe I'll give you that, although Nick Foles in that postseason played like a top 5 quarterback, but obviously he's not. You want to give that one example. And then Jay, on the other hand, was saying, well, you still need a quarterback, but maybe not top 5, maybe now top 10. Okay. I don't know that any point's been proven or vindicated. Patrick Mahomes, it's not, you used to have to do it this way, now you do it this way. His point, he kept saying, well, Burrow and Allen and Lamar Jackson didn't make this. Well, only one of those 4 guys can make the Super Bowl. They're all in the AFC. So there's got to be a non-top 4 quarterback that makes the Super Bowl every year because the 4 best quarterbacks are all in the AFC. And Jalen Hurts has been dismissed, undervalued, and flat out disrespected since coming into this league. Nobody's ever said he's Lamar, Burrow, Allen, or Patrick Mahomes. Nobody ever has. I don't think anybody will even after this. But there's no doubt to me that he's in that next group of quarterbacks. Now, you could debate where he is in that next group, but to me, there's no doubt he's in that next group. Doesn't mean he hasn't had some up and down in his game over the years he's been in the league. He certainly has. This idea also, I think there's some people, more of the old school people like Jay, that kind of don't include. They only look at your passing touchdowns, okay? Passing touchdowns, rushing touchdowns and passing touchdowns. Come on, how many touchdowns do you have as a quarterback?
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts leads to a lot of Eagles touchdowns. Now, obviously, Saquon Barkley made a difference for the Eagles. He was great, had a phenomenal year. But let me ask you this: who had more team success before this past year? Jalen Hurts without Barkley or Barkley without Jalen Hurts?
The answer is Philadelphia.
Obviously. And that will continue to be the case. Just like I'm not saying other things are not important. You can't win by yourself. Joe Burrow had an MVP season. His defense was the worst in the league, and they fell short of the playoffs. That's going to happen, right? If your team can't be but the better the quarterback is, the less you need around him to win. And ultimately, it's harder to have 30 great players than it is to have 10. And if you have a great quarterback, you're always going to have a better chance to win. That is not changing. You can't. Okay, so you can't win. Nobody's winning a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold. No, I'm sick of Sam Darnold. Look at Sam Darnold. Don't put Baker. No, I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with Baker. That'll be determined in time. But I keep hearing people put Baker in the same group with Darnold and Geno. That's disingenuous. Baker had success here on a level. We could debate how high the level was. Sam Darnold and Geno Smith were complete busts until this year, Darnold, and a couple of years for Geno. Baker wasn't a bust. He had one bust season somewhere else, one bust season here. That's it. But he had success. It's a bad comparison.
You got to look at it like this, boy. Baker Mayfield, he still does stuff like drop snaps in crunch time. Like, let's not act like he don't, like, we used to have a meme, like, when it's fourth quarter and it's crunch time, here comes the pick. Here comes the fumble. Here comes the mistake. He still does that. My thing, and I try to tell.
But yes, I agree. But he's still a level better than Darnold and Geno.
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing is, and we were talking about it before, when people who are trying to convince themselves that the quarterback isn't as important or you can win a different way, those people are just telling on themselves. Those individuals believe that, like, we've been burned so many times by quarterbacks, and when you invest all of your funds and all of your mental and emotional capital into a guy, and then he turns out not to be the guy, you end up leaving the bag. That's why it's so hard for people to leave cults. You join a cult, you sign up for it, and then they tell you the Armageddon is coming tomorrow, and you're like, bro, it was just Saturday, nothing happened, it was sunshine outside. Now you got to pivot. Now you got to be like, well, listen, I didn't say Armageddon was coming this Saturday. It's a Saturday soon. And every single time they show up and nothing happens, you feel worse and worse and worse until you basically have to say, listen, I'm already signed up for life.
Yeah.
So it now it's to a point where it's like, okay, there's something new that I saw in the Super Bowl and I could take something away. No, you can't take nothing away. You took away from the fact Patrick Mahomes played like crap. The Philadelphia Eagles got up on them 17-0. Jalen Hurts kept breaking their back with these third down runs and scrambles, and they got blew out. There's nothing you can extrapolate to say, if the Browns do that blueprint, I tell you, we're going to be right where they are. No, you're not.
Right.
You don't get a quarterback, you're not going to be anywhere.
That's right. And the Eagles, if they had Sam Darnold or Kirk Cousins or Daniel Jones or any of these schlubs that people want to add for the Browns,
Aaron Rodgers,
they would not have gone to the Super Bowl. End of conversation. And if you think that's look at a team like the Browns last year who went to the Super Bowl with 5 quarterbacks. Joe Flacco. I'm sorry, went to the playoffs with Joe Flacco. Those teams that go in those weird circumstances never go the next year. You don't go to the playoffs with weird circumstances 2 years in a row. It's not sustainable.
And they always fooled themselves into thinking that outlier year is somehow repeatable. That's not.
We did. We convinced ourselves to some degree.
We're that good. Yeah. We could just go. Yeah, no, you're not going to just do that.
No, until the quarter. What the top quarterback does is gives you a floor that you can't beat. What the Browns were last year is 3-14.
Yeah, it's
Look
not
at all
possible.
the really awful teams. Did any of them have decent quarterbacks? No.
Could the Bills, Ravens, even the Bengals when they start slow?
They're not going 3-13.
It's not possible for them to win 3 games.
No,
it's just not.
No, absolutely not.
Glad you got that. Glad you got that off your chest, Bowl. Let's dive into DeAndre Hunter's debut here. After a quick word from FanDuel, when the NBA tips off and the basketball action is getting started, there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip or want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in the action, and if you're looking for bigger payouts, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook betting partner of the NBA.
By the way, confession, I called Jason Lloyd at halftime of the Cavs game last night because I saw that Mandy Bell, and we wish Mandy the best. She's leaving the Guardians beat for MLB.com, and she's doing another assignment working with encouraging youth into baseball. Not sure of the details, so good luck to her in her next venture. I called Jason because I had this thought about maybe I'll become a beat writer in addition to what I'm doing. Maybe I'll become a beat writer for the Guardians.
Okay.
And after talking to Jason, I realized it was maybe the stupidest thought I'd ever had in my life. But it was something that crossed my mind.
Man, you see what I'm saying? This the kind of stuff that happen when you don't work Monday and Friday.
You forgot. You don't interrupt the FanDuel read. You can do any other read you want, but FanDuel.
Well, but that led us into our Cavs conversation.
No, now you got us talking about you doing beat writer stuff for the Guardians.
I'm sorry. I make fun of me later, G.
He's on the Guardians beat?
I was going to get on the Guardians beat.
All right, guys.
Sorry. DeAndre Hunter. By the way, listen, and again, I'm going to put my foot in my mouth and get people. But John Michael, can we not make every basket the greatest basket in the history of the game? Because then when really exciting moments happen, John Michael was talking about DeAndre Hunter, you would have thought the Cavs got LeBron back. I love DeAndre Hunter. I think he's a great fit. But my God, every time he touched the ball, he wanted to go so crazy. We can't have every moment in the first quarter, 16-0 against the Timberwolves on a Monday in February can't be a playoff level excitement. Otherwise, we got nothing here. But
the crowd did go crazy for Hunter's introduction. Tyvus, what'd you make of DeAndre's debut in a Cavaliers uniform?
I thought he fit in really well. That was the thing. When you're out there in your first game and you think about the Cavs system and how they run things, I thought the flow, how he got to his spots, that corner three, which was interesting because I remember you putting up back before they traded, how Cam Johnson was one of the best in the corners and he was second best and blah, blah, blah. I think he missed the first one, but he ended up going on and hitting some threes in this game. And I was just like, you know what? It looks like it fits. He looks like a guy that fits in. He understands what the Cavs were doing. Obviously, you know, on the defensive side, we want him to be better on the defense, and that's why we got him. But the fact that you got your big wing that can hit knockdown shots. I know he only had one board. I'm sure he'll be more active. But this game it got away from they was 0-16. The Timberwolves started off.
Game was over.
Yeah, what I'm saying. So, like, for the most part, like, he was in and out because, you know, Kenny was rotating everybody. I mean, your boy got in and hit a trade. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah, he came in.
Everybody. Luke Travers came in. I'm just like, even my wife was like, who is this? But anyways, like, we'll have to see the next game to see what he's like when it's getting to those moments where, you know, you got to get some important defensive stops and things like that. But for this one, for him to get his feet wet out there, I thought he looked really good. He fit in with them. He made the shots that came his way, 3 for 4 from the three-point line. I think it was the right pickup.
G, did you think, and Mike, I'm curious, I thought when he started the game, I just got the sense he was nervous. He looked uncomfortable in the introductions. Like, everybody else was kind of excited, and he was very stoic. And I thought he just kind of had a nervous look. I have no idea if that's actually the case. He just looked nervous to me in the beginning of the game, and I thought he was a little uncomfortable the first time he was out there. And then I thought the rest of the game, when he was out there, he kind of relaxed. I don't know. Did you guys see that at all? Or
I thought he was a little. You know what it is. When you come in, I thought he was trying to not mess things up.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
I'm just
they got a system. I'm trying to make sure I don't mess up the system, the plays.
I don't want to be out of here like, you know. So he got to his deferment, and I think Atkinson talk about. Listen, it's going to take him about 5 games to do that. To get acclimated, and it may take him about 15 or so to figure out what he does best, like where he likes the ball, whether he comes back off, what actions that he likes. But the thing that I was encouraged by is first and foremost, just by the eye test, I was just looking at the size.
Pause.
Yeah, I was looking. The size was looking delicious.
Pause.
Whoa, double pause.
Hey man, you gonna watch your mouth. You gonna cut, and then you licking your lips, bro. What's going on, bro? Hey man, that ain't cool.
That's wild.
It's not cool.
Listen, I'm telling you.
You know what we about to do? I'm about to get us a bucket in here, and we gonna find each other for this stuff. We $1 every time you say something outrageous. I want $1 in the bucket.
McNuggets, you couldn't help to notice. And the thing about it, I saw the defensive energy. I thought he made a very conscientious effort to have the defensive energy out there that's kicked up a little bit. I saw him guarding Ant-Man, and I'm like, oh, for real? You moving your feet like that? I like the active hands. He was reaching a couple of times. Now, he got a couple of quick fouls, but he got a couple of quick ones. But look, man, in the playoffs, they going to mess around and give you that. And the thing that I also noticed was, it looked like I might have been just imagining that, because you know the first game, you look at things, you don't want to get too aggressive, like, oh, this is the new meta. This is how the Cavs go play. I thought Evan Mobley was so super aggressive because it was like,
did you see?
You ain't got y'all can't guard me now. Like, he's like, oh, you can't help off me. Like, we got dudes out here like Hunter. We got Jared Allen that's crashing. Donovan Mitchell. I just felt Evan Mobley was like, oh, this is the space I've been looking for.
That's where I was going to go.
I'm like,
he was the best player on the Cavs.
Now I said he kind of stole it. I was so looking at Evan that I kind of forgot about Hunter a little bit in the game, because Evan was out there balling. I mean, he opened the game up. They was killing on the boards. The man was pulling threes. Hitting with the with the little slow pull. I was sitting there like, who is this? Hey. But Evan been doing this for like the past 3 games.
Hey. But
he done had like 28 and 30s.
What really stood out to me, though, is Minnesota's big up front.
Yeah.
They didn't have Randall last night.
They didn't.
Right, but
they did bust Randall. What you talking about?
But
they gave Randall 30.
Gobert's a giant down low, and
Gobert and Naz Reid's pretty big.
Yeah, they're both big.
And Evan got his shot blocked a couple of times by those guys, but he stayed aggressive.
Oh, absolutely. He
right,
was awesome last night. Awesome.
Against Boston, he had that when he got blocked and then he just went into a shell. In this game, big guys, he got a shot block a couple times, but he stayed aggressive and had a great game. And again, it wasn't. I'm not saying those guys are the best big guys in the world, but they're not scrubs.
No, Gobert's one of the best defensive
Gobert's
bigs.
Great. So,
sure, yeah.
Great's maybe strong. Good player.
No, defensively, he's very, very, very
Donovan
good.
Mitchell. was busting his ass.
Yeah, he was.
Oh my God!
He was
what was that? Third quarter or early fourth quarter?
Yeah, second half.
He was taking it to. He wanted to do it in his face every time.
Out of line.
He talked about that post game.
Yeah.
And him and Gobert obviously played together for a while. Joe Ingles, who was also on the T-Wolves,
was
part of those Utah teams. And
by the way, Joe Ingles, who I won on the Cavs, looks like he should be playing rec ball with Mike, doesn't he?
Oh, he definitely plays on Thursday night.
That guy looks
He's
like
giant, though.
Michael, know this. That guy looks like a Division III point guard, doesn't he?
You know what's crazy?
If a D3 point guard was 6'9".
Yeah, tall. You know what I mean, though, the body type.
I swear.
He looks like one of these big D3, like he's way taller, yes. But he looks like a body type is one of those D3 point guards that's kind of physical.
That man going to go to Lifetime and give whoever checking him 45 points.
Oh, yeah. You know there's a lot of guys playing on the street think they can bust his ass.
Oh, he will give them 45.
He's one of them. I asked Green about that. I asked Danny Green, who's one of them dudes. He actually had him on his list. He was at the bottom 5, though. Hey, but I tell you what, if they're going to keep balling like this, Mobley 28, Hunter 12, Jared Allen 14, Mitchell 23, Garland 17, Sam Merrill almost had 10.
Yeah.
Ty Jerome had 15. And when you get Dean Wade back, think about I'm just excited about
Strus.
And Strus didn't even play.
Yeah.
When you get Dean Wade and you get a Coral back, and then you throw in the mix that you now have Hunter, you have multiple guys that can just. You can say, hey, don't even worry about that. Just worry about this worry about this defense. And that was crazy, too.
It was.
But with Hunter out there, Tyvus, you're right. With Hunter out there was nobody that the defense could play off of.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have 5 guys that can make a basket.
Well, the only person that can sag off would be whoever's checking Jared Allen.
Yeah, but then Jared Allen cuts to the basket.
Exactly.
Then he's crashing the boards.
And you look at the whole starting 5, they all played well last night.
Yeah.
They did.
Everybody. Yeah. Nobody had a terrible game. They all played well. They all contributed. And what I love, Kenny Atkinson, and I know maybe it's easy because they're playing well and he's gotten no criticism at all, deservedly so. But he's so cool with the media, and I like that. I love when in the post game yesterday, Mike, you were there, I assume.
Yeah.
When he goes, man, he specifically brought up what G said. He's like, man, I noticed right away that his size, it was noticeable out on the court. And he's like, did you guys notice? Like he was asking you guys. And I thought that was kind of cool. I like that.
Wait a minute. One thing, Mike, do you consider yourself like a reporter?
Yeah,
are you
not necessarily a reporter. I'm more of a opinionist when it comes to the Cavs. Yeah. I don't really report news.
So what but you are a media member.
He's a burgeoning Cavs insider.
Inside are very loose terms.
Hey, I like that.
That's what I'm calling.
I'm just the guy that talks about the Cavs.
You're okay with being
as marketing.
You okay with being a media guy?
Yeah. Okay. I've been a media guy for 10 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
A couple things on Hunter from being there yesterday.
Don't look at me like that.
A couple things on Hunter.
Yeah.
To your point, to what Kenny said of DeAndre Hunter looking the part.
Yeah.
There are guys who are listed at 6'4" who are not 6'4" in the NBA. There are guys who are listed at 6'10" who are not 6'10". There are guys on the Cavs who are not as tall as their listed height. Yeah. DeAndre Hunter is all of 6'8", and his arms look alien-like how long they are. Yeah. All of 6'8", all of a 7'3" wingspan. 100% looks the part of a 3-and-D wing in today's era. I thought he did a couple things last night that for his first time playing in an NBA game with some of these guys. Now, he did say he played with Ty Jerome in college. We know that. Yeah, right. He's worked out with Darius and Evan over the summers. They have similar representation. They've played with each other in the past. Let me just ask you, did you think, because you didn't get a chance to answer for it, did you think he looked nervous early? No? He's guarding Ant Edwards, one of those fouls. I thought he reached in, definitely got called for the right foul. He was joking in the locker room after. He's like, they don't call those fouls on Atlanta. You guys are winning, so I guess I have to stop doing that. Right, I thought it was funny. He fit in the locker room perfectly last night in the little bit we got to see. Yeah. But the way he was able just to assimilate himself into the offense and just kind of be in the right spots at the right times with guys who he has not necessarily played with before at this level was impressive. And this morning, Jason and I did an Ultimate Cavs show. We did a 20-minute breakdown on DeAndre Hunter specifically, but I cut 2 minutes out of that breakdown. Do you guys want to see a little bit from the tape on what we thought
Jason was there?
This morning?
Yeah.
Yeah, 8 a.m.
Yeah, Getty was wearing a weird hat.
He was wearing a beanie today.
Yeah.
He went from a baseball cap to a beanie. You'll see it in the clip. But this is 2 minutes from the Ultimate Cav Show this morning. If you want to see the full thing, it's on our YouTube page. But broke down a couple of DeAndre's shots and one defensive play. And let's hear it. Look at the read that he makes off this dribble handoff here. And I'll let it play through, then I'll pause. Whap. As this goes through again, you got Joe Ingles who's chasing DeAndre Hunter. It's a kind of ghost screen by Donovan Mitchell. He's more just getting in the way than anything. But not Hunter. Ingles goes under right there.
Yeah.
Simple read. Mobley's not that's not a design play. If he's chasing him, Hunter takes it, turns the corner, and tries to attack one-on-one. That is a simple read. Ingles goes under. Mobley holds the screen. That is just playing basketball. Two guys in sync. DeAndre Hunter doesn't sag off too much. He's still right in the right area. If he wants to kick out to McDaniels, he's in perfect recovery position. You know, it's going to be a contested three. It's going to be a shot, but in good enough contest. And when Edwards goes up with this, look at that, Jason.
Yeah.
That is a 7'2", 7'3" wingspan, making that an incredibly difficult shot. With all due respect to Donovan, to Strus, to Okoro, if they were in the exact same position as DeAndre Hunter was there and did exactly the same thing as DeAndre Hunter did on this play, that contest isn't affecting Anthony Edwards' jump shot whatsoever. DeAndre Hunter's 6'8". He's got a 7'3" wingspan, and he shoots the ball stupid high. He shoots the ball above his head and almost behind his head. It kind of looks, for being perfectly honest, it looks a little wonky when you see it, but a shot like that is damn near impossible to block because of his size, length, and his ability to jump. I mean, Gobert's in decent contest. He could have got up further. He didn't want to get blown by. He buzzed a little on the pump fake. But look where he shoots this from. And look at the release on that, Jason.
Yeah.
That's like a 9'5" release.
Yeah.
And Gobert's 7'2" with a 9'7" standing reach.
He's got no shot.
There's no shot at blocking that. This pass by Evan Mobley is absurd.
Yeah.
On the dot, in the shooting pocket to Hunter. That's just him clearing out the natural progression of the play. But for Mobley to have the instinct to know, hey, I'm not sure who should be in the corner, but someone should be in the corner on this situation. You have all the help side going to the ball because it's a loose ball situation. Mobley has nowhere to throw but the corner. And guess who's there? The guy who he's never played an NBA game with before. Whap, his second three of the game.
You know, it's a shame.
Yeah.
That was great analysis. But the whole time I was looking at the bottom left-hand corner.
I was too.
Jason can't be a hat guy. He's not a hat guy.
He looked like every douchebag bar guy. He looks like he's a bar back. He looked like his name is Braden Chaz. Like, hey, I'm going. Hey, he was always asking girls, you're going to come in tonight? I'm bartending. Why would I? Who cares if you bar? Is these drinks free? Yeah, I'm bartending from 9 to 1. Come on in.
Speaking of that, did you see the commercial for girls flag football with Myles Garrett being a nerd in the beginning?
Yeah.
That was the guy's name was Chad or Chaz or something like that.
And then it was like, we can't give you credit no more because we don't like you. Like, we just like,
Yeah, that was a good commercial.
It was a good commercial.
Yeah.
But
anyway, it was a good breakdown by Mike.
Yeah.
Mike with his passing pocket or whatever the hell he's talking about, some nerd basketball terminology.
That's not nerd basketball.
The shooting pocket.
Shooting pocket.
When you catch the ball like right here.
No fans say shooting pocket.
Yes, they do.
No, never.
Bull hangs out with. Who do you hang out with that doesn't say shooting? That's like
shooting pocket.
Bull. It's like when
you're arguing with your friends about basketball. You say shooting pocket.
What I would say is I threw him a pass right in his shooting pocket.
Never.
That's exactly.
Really?
That's how you say it.
I never heard somebody say shooting pocket.
You know how you standing right here and if they pass you the ball and it's right here, that's your pocket.
I played basketball when I was a teenager.
You didn't shoot then?
I wasn't a good shooter, but I did shoot
So it didn't matter if they hit you in the pocket or not.
You get that ball in their pocket.
They hit me in the pocket. That means they hit me in the ass.
Whoa. Last thing on DeAndre Hunter, then we'll move on to some Brown stuff. So in the locker room afterwards, we talked about, losing Niang, losing Karras.
Yeah.
How that could affect chemistry.
Who?
Well, Niang and Karras.
Oh, yeah.
And how that could affect chemistry. Well, there was a little moment, and, we only get to go in the locker room for a certain time, and it's after they shower up and stuff. But, G, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I had to get they said I was my knees is crazy in the chat, so I had to get them together.
Talking about your knees in the chat?
Yeah, they was getting on me. I said, I heard y'all.
That's why I got that lotion
Come on.
down there. Just
so, in the locker room,
yeah.
Jalen Tyson, who came in right away when DeAndre came out with the 2 fouls, then picked up immediately 2 fouls right away of his own. Then Luke Travers came in. And Hunter was joking that, I didn't get those calls in Atlanta. We weren't good enough. Refs weren't calling that.
Right.
And Tyson goes, man, DeAndre, I've been studying your tape. That's how I learned how to foul. And DeAndre laughs and goes, you go be out the league real quick if that keeps happening. And then Jalen laughed. And it was you could see already some of the chemistry developing between Hunter and some of the other guys and how much of an influence he can be on guys like Jalen Tyson, like a JT Thor, like to your guy, Amani Bates, who has the locker right next to DeAndre Hunter now as he continues to become part of this clubhouse and this team.
By the way, do they have to send out a van to pick up Travers from the pig farm for every time he plays?
No, I do not believe so.
Oh, okay.
I
actually can confirm that is not true.
That's an underrated story about this trade to why they probably did choose Hunter over Cam.
I don't think they chose him.
I'm just saying, like, if the Nets weren't able to move, why they were more comfortable with it, because I didn't think about the fact that Hunter is like a Jalen Tyson. Like, Jalen Tyson could be like a Hunter, like as far as the physicality and.
Well, if he becomes that,
so like it's good to have a mentor, like a great mentor.
Yeah.
Like, my game could be similar to your game and stuff like that, so he can like see the things that he's doing that's making him successful. Like it's a nice little mentorship there.
You see that, Mike? That comparison?
He's not as big, but from a skill set standpoint, it's not crazy.
How big is Tyson?
6'5".
It's a big difference.
But he's big. Like he's built. Kenny
also said after the game what I thought was fascinating. He said there may be some lineups when everybody's back where Hunter plays the 2.
And the 5. Literally every position out. He said pregame he could play the 5 a little bit, but he'll play everything depending on the availability.
You want to have that flexibility in the modern NBA.
He's the ultimate Swiss Army knife to a lot of the issues the Cavs had prior to his arrival, which was we don't have the lineup flexibility to stay with enough shooters and counteract size. Now with Hunter, and then it depends on the availability of Wade, and then whether you want to play Allen and Mobley together, they could put out lineups that are as big, as long, and relatively as athletic as any other team in the East.
Yeah, I mean, he's the first real wing guy they've had since LeBron.
Yes.
Like legitimate starting caliber, not superstar or anything, but he's a legitimate starting caliber wing player.
Let me ask you this, Mike. Let's say for the Celtics, because that's obviously be the team that everybody likes to match up with. Who would your starting 5 be? Let's say that you took Allen out and put Mobley at the 5 to match up with Porzingis. What would the rest of your lineup be? Just out of curiosity.
I mean, like to start a game if you weren't going to start Allen.
Yeah.
I mean, you could absolutely start Darius, Donovan, Hunter and Wade alongside Mobley, and that matches up pretty well.
You think they wouldn't start Allen?
No, I'm just saying
they would start Allen.
In theory,
in theory.
For whether you start or not, like the starters is.
Yeah,
the starters play 4 minutes.
So they're gonna kick them out anyway.
So.
Well, Hunter, I don't know which side. I didn't hear which side of the argument. I know you and Jason disagree on whether Hunter or Strus should start.
No, I think Wade should start.
Or Hunter or Wade. Sorry, but
it really doesn't. At the end of the day, Hunter's in the closing 5.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But you think Hunter should come off the bench and start the game?
I have no issue if they want to come off the bench, just because
No, but who of the two of you wants him to be on the bench to start the game?
I think Dean Wade should still be the starter. Hunter comes off the bench, and then just more of a focal point offensively when he's in the game as opposed to being limited to the 4th option.
And playing right away with Ty Jerome, who he's already comfortable with. And
Kenny last night, when he did the rotations, last night he was always with Ty, Donovan, and Evan in that split. I bet you tomorrow night, just to test it out, he'll be with the Darius and Jarrett split to see who he gels better with.
Is Strus playing tomorrow? Do we know?
TBD.
When is Dean Wade coming back?
Atkinson said that they both, if this was a playoff scenario, they both could probably come back now, but because it's the middle of the season, the All-Star breaks the game away. They're just being extra cautious. They want it to be 100% healthy.
You know who like Dean Wade? Giannis Antetokounmpo. He about to get off my list. He hurt all the time. It's always a calf strain. It's ridiculous.
He break it down, man.
By the way, one last thing on the NBA I want you guys' take on before we move on to the Browns here. I believe the NBA has it wrong. I think the scoring champion, now most seasons, if not all seasons, this would probably be the same guy, but not necessarily. I think the NBA scoring champ should be the guy who actually scores the most points, not who averages the most points. You get what I'm saying?
No.
Yes, the most total points, because then it takes into account games played.
Yes. You should be rewarded for playing more games. Now, I wonder how many years it would be two different guys. Because there is a minimum amount of games to win the scoring title, probably.
Right. Yeah, it's 65.
Okay.
To my knowledge, it's 65.
So maybe it's the same guy every year. But if it's close and one guy's played more, I think that guy should win, even if he's averaging less per game.
But it don't even really matter.
It doesn't really matter.
Because analytics people have diminished scores to a point where it's almost a scarlet letter. You're like, oh, you're leading into – all he does is jack up shots.
Well, not in this case, because doesn't Jokic – no, Jokic
SGA leads in total points and points per game right now.
Right. And nobody's they don't diminish him. Is it Jokic? Oh, no, Giannis is second in points per game, and then Jokic is third, right?
Yes, and Jokic is the second most total points, though.
Right.
But if you're usually, traditionally, if you're on a mid team, you're getting disqualified because they're going to say
certainly if you're on a bad team like
mid to bad team, it's the worst thing you could do. And heck, Trae Young put up a bunch of points.
Why is my mother calling during the show?
Hey, don't
it's your mother.
Mom, you can't call me during the show. We're on the air. I'll call you later.
Jason just texted and said he's wearing that hat tomorrow on the show. So look what you guys have done. All right, guys, let's do a break and let's get to our first Browns topic of the day. Like you said, if you want to see any more of the breakdown on DeAndre Hunter, some of the other stuff Jason and I talked about on the Ultimate Cav Show this morning, it is on our YouTube page. We went for about 35 minutes at 8 a.m. this morning. It is on our YouTube page. A 20-minute breakdown plus some of the X's and O's from Kenny Atkinson, how they defended Anthony Edwards, and what they're looking forward to before the All-Star break. So check that out. All right, guys, we've talked about a ton of bridge quarterbacks. We have not mentioned this next guy who was mentioned by Tom Pelissero in the lead up to Super Bowl 59. And when Tom Pelissero says something about the Cleveland Browns, more often than not, he's been right. So listen to the two names he's mentioned as possible bridge quarterbacks for the Browns. We've talked about Kirk Cousins. It's the other one I want to focus on today. Ant play.
At number 2, they're a team who needs to add one and quite possibly multiple quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson's status at this point uncertain following a second Achilles tendon rupture. And frankly, my understanding is the Browns were probably going to draft one even if Watson had not gotten hurt. So they are going to be in position to potentially to take Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders if they feel like the value is there. But regardless, I would anticipate they also add a veteran to the mix. A couple names to keep in mind. Kirk Cousins has a relationship with Kevin Stefanski. He could be an economical option if and when the Falcons release him. And Judy, another one, don't overlook Daniel Jones to Cleveland either.
Bull, any interest whatsoever in Daniel Jones as a possible quarterback?
I've said this consistently. I'll say it again. The veteran they sign doesn't really matter to me. There's no veteran that the Browns can sign that gives them a chance to win the Super Bowl. None. Nobody. It doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter if it's the worst veteran or the best. They can't win a Super Bowl. No chance with a veteran quarterback right now. None of these guys are any good. They're all either not good enough or at the end of their careers. So it's irrelevant. Daniel Jones is a bad quarterback. He had one nice season, which was an anomaly. The only factor for me in who you should sign is if the Browns draft a quarterback high, and I'll include the second round, I'll say if they draft a quarterback in the first or second round.
Oh, that's happening.
I don't know that they're definitely going to draft one of the first two rounds.
I think so.
But I don't think it's 100%.
I think it is.
Okay. Let's say you're right. If they draft a quarterback in the first or second round, then the veteran I would choose is the guy that I think can be the best mentor for my young quarterback.
It's Jameis Winston.
I don't agree with that.
Why?
I think Andy Dalton's the right guy. I think Jameis Winston still wants to start, which I don't blame him. There are not 32 quarterbacks better than Jameis Winston.
But Jameis Winston has also shown when DTR got the job, he was very supportive. He didn't
That's true. I don't disagree with that.
Even when Deshaun Watson was taking a beating, he was almost this dude's counselor.
That's fair. He's not. He's certainly. Yes, he's not. He is definitely not a bad teammate.
No. But I don't have a problem with Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Like you said, I don't really have a problem with Kirk. Whoever you want to have.
Yeah, it doesn't really.
It's the same dude.
Yeah.
Same guy.
So, G, real quick, just to put an answer to the question, you're a no to Daniel Jones as well.
Oh, baby, stop. If I wanted, listen.
I mean,
I don't want no part.
I don't care. If they sign Daniel Jones, okay, but you're not winning anything. If you're going to con yourself into thinking Daniel Jones makes you a better team.
I love the mental gymnastics because Cleveland Browns fans is right where I always predicted them to be. Is you keep saying you need a quarterback, but you don't have the heart to pull the trigger on a quarterback.
Wait a minute. What is let me see that career. You got his touchdowns to interceptions ratio on his career?
70 to 47.
Okay.
Now that doesn't include rushing touchdowns.
It does not. He's a decent runner.
Okay, so
he's a good runner.
23 picks.
I mean, he doesn't complete high percentage of passes.
So
he throws too many picks.
My thing is, does he fit what Kevin Stefanski wants? From them stats, probably not. But I mean, listen.
I still don't know.
The thing about the NFL is everybody always believes in following the trends and the fads and all those things. And the hot topic in the NFL right now is either the second quarterback drafted in the past 2 drafts or taking one of these guys that everybody gave up on and teaching him the difference of the game and letting him have a good season because of the Geno Smiths and the Sam Darnold.
And how many playoff games have Geno and Sam Darnold won?
What?
0.
Daniel
But I'm just
Jones
saying.
Which is stunning.
It is.
I know.
That against Kirk Cousins, actually.
That's
I
right.
still remember that. I was sitting there like, that's a shame.
Weren't we watching that game in a bar?
The
we
Vikings
went to a game on in Lakewood.
Yeah.
The Vikings did what they did this year, the same thing they did when they lost to Danny Dunn. They had an unbelievable regular season just to blow it in the first round.
They had that season 3 or 4 years. They had that one miraculous, crazy season where Brett Favre came and played for them.
Yep.
They had that one miraculous season when Case Keenum was balling.
With that crazy play, remember
the tip with Stephon Diggs. Yeah. They had the crazy season with Sam Darnold. They continue to just get crazy seasons with these old dudes. And it's not good. That's not. And the Browns fans should realize you never want to be in the C to D package on NFL Network talking about the what ifs, about retread quarterbacks to bring in. And, bro, Deshaun Watson is finished. You can tell they don't be watching, they can't be watching the local media. They don't know what the Browns are doing.
What are you talking about?
Deshaun Watson tore his Achilles twice. Why are you mentioning him like he's even in the mix?
No. Well, he did say even if Deshaun Watson didn't get hurt,
said they were going to draft
still be drafting a quarterback anyway.
That's a wrap. That's Dunsky. What are you talking about? Everybody might be fired by the time he get back.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in agreement, no to Daniel Jones. There's another veteran quarterback that has been not rumored to the Browns, not reported to the Browns, but could potentially be on the move. And I'm curious if you think this name would be a better fit for the Browns. Matthew Stafford's wife, Kelly Stafford, has a podcast. And she, on her most recent podcast called The Morning After, said basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, we want to win. We love L.A. We also love an adventure. We're not sure why the Rams traded away Cooper Kupp. If Matthew Stafford were to ask out of L.A., Tyvis, would that be a quarterback you'd be interested in having as a fit in 2025 for the Browns?
Yeah, absolutely. Who wouldn't take Matthew Stafford? Now, I don't know if he want to come to the Cleveland Browns, but, I mean, if you trade for him, I mean, listen, that's a guy that's played a lot of football. He's been in the top league of all passing the ball. He does a great job of taking care of the football. I mean, look at his last year's season, 20 to 8 picks. I mean, he would be exactly what you want. I mean, it would change the trajectory of this draft. I wonder if it could even make a Myles Garrett maybe take his stance back. Maybe that'll be something that he'd be like, you know what? You got Matthew there? All right, let me see what y'all do in this draft, and maybe they can make him come back. I know he only has maybe 2 or 3 years, so you still probably would have to take a quarterback at some point in this draft. But, yeah, for right now, if you're trying to do something right now, Matthew Stafford could be a difference maker for sure.
This is the craziest dumb question in the world, bull. This is a placeholder conversation. This right here, that his wife just told you, I'm not even going on. She looked like the type of woman that won't even let him go on different vacation spots. She's like, we go to Cabo every 3rd year. You know what it is. No, we're not going. No, really? Who wants to? She gonna move her life her children, her lifestyle.
A lot of people don't. A lot of wives don't follow.
Bro,
I see you in 4 months.
Bro, I travel every single day through the mean streets of the capital city, all throughout the major downtown area. I'm like, dang, I didn't know that building was abandoned too. I was like, dang, ain't nothing in these buildings. There used to be a bar there 5 years ago. Where have I been at? She's not coming here.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if they got kids in school, she's not, and the kid's not. No, he can. I'm not.
Was your wife was with you in Seattle, right?
Yes.
Well, you didn't have
My
kids.
wife, I didn't have kids. Yeah. Like right now, to this day, I can get a job in California. My wife is not moving.
Well, hold on.
I'm not going.
Listen, there's a rule for that. As a black man, you are not allowed to be in a city married by yourself. That is not happening. If I go to a city, she's going too. Like you're not allowed, but you be going by. Where you live by yourself?
Where have I lived by myself?
After you've been married.
I haven't been anywhere.
Oh, thank you.
I got married after I got done playing.
Let you try to go to another city.
I think she know. First of all, don't nobody want me no way. That's first of all. My wife knows nobody wants me.
There's a reason you
therefore, like, I'm not.
There's a reason he travels back to Columbus after every show.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, you know why? You know why? Because I got to go to work down there. That's why.
Okay, it is what it is.
To G's point, all right, here's the reality of the situation.
Talk
Matthew Stafford's wife, who has a lot to say, is on a video on her. Does she have a podcast or something?
It is a podcast.
She's doing her own podcast saying, well, Matthew wants to win, and they're trading Cooper Kupp. And we just got to the NFC, divisional round.
Right. What if we traded for Matthew Stafford and Cooper
but
Kupp?
they're going to be okay getting traded to the Browns?
What if they
traded of all teams?
What if they traded for Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp?
Bro, this is out of pocket.
For Myles Garrett. For Myles Garrett.
Chance on earth that Matthew Stafford is coming to play for the Browns.
Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford for Myles Garrett.
Doesn't make any sense.
I take it.
Doesn't make any sense.
I think we get trolled, bro.
Tyler, you're out of your mind right now. What quarterback who's won a Super Bowl, who's been a perennial Pro Bowl player, at the end of his career hoping to maybe one more day in the sun, maybe win another championship.
In L.A.
In L.A. is going to come to Cleveland. We love Cleveland, but it ain't happening.
Trent Dilfer did it.
Trent Dilfer sucked.
He won a Super Bowl and came.
He was carried.
Nobody said what quarterback after they won a Super Bowl would come to Cleveland? Trent Dilfer.
I could have played quarterback for that team and won the Super Bowl. Okay.
Well, you should.
No quarterback has ever done less for a Super Bowl team than Trent Dilfer did. For crying out loud.
How do you think Matt Stafford would fare behind this Browns O-line? Like, there's no way. There's zero.
Well, first of all,
there's no way.
It's not like the Browns' offense is the worst in football. Let's not get carried away. There's much worse O-lines than the Browns.
I'm saying we got a lot of questions.
Matthew Stafford's not coming to Cleveland. The conversation is absurd.
What if we had a dome?
No.
We're not going to have a dome for 4 years.
I'm just saying, what if it was a dome?
He still wouldn't come.
We got a dome.
You don't want to go to a loser? The Patriots have better odds of winning the Super Bowl than the Browns.
Wait a minute. If he asks for a trade, he's going to a loser. Everybody else got their quarterback set. What are you talking about? You're going to have him for 2 years.
You're saying there's no team that couldn't use a quarterback.
Give me one.
That's better than the Browns.
Give me one. That's not a loser. That went to the playoffs this year. Please, give me a team.
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep.
That was easy. They would go to a Super Bowl.
They could.
That was a great response.
Now, honestly, I don't know how much Matthew Stafford's got left in the tank anyway.
He looked good.
He's better than any of these scrappies we're talking about for free agency.
That was like family.
But like, you put him on the Steelers, they're going to the play. Steelers go to the playoffs every year anyway.
I got a couple of names.
Yeah.
The Jets.
Yep. That's number two.
I mean, the Jets kind of suck, too.
I don't know. The Jets got defense, and the number one receiver was Stafford, and they got a nice running back. They're definitely going to the playoffs.
I don't know, because
the Jets are in better shape than the Browns.
What's McCollin leaving, ain't he?
Who?
Devontae Adams.
Well, I'm sure he wouldn't want to leave if I was about to say Kurt Warner. If Matthew Stafford
said
was
he's
there.
trying to go to L.A.
If that's because he want to hang with Stafford.
No. I mean, not L.A. He want to go to the Bay, San Fran.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I'm just there are some teams.
Yeah.
Listen, who's in worse shape than the Browns right now? Not many.
Man, even if he said the Colts or the Jets, outside of Pittsburgh, all of them is loser teams.
Yeah, but some of them are more exciting markets. Tyvis, people that are not from Cleveland. Before I moved to Cleveland, I was like, Cleveland? Who the hell would want to live there? I love it.
And now you won't leave.
I love Cleveland.
We can't even get you to leave.
But people don't know that if they're not from here or didn't live here.
Well, you need to come and experience it.
I agree with you, but Matthew Stafford and his hoity-toity wife are not coming here at this point in his career.
She don't have to come.
Are you serious?
She don't have to come.
She spends her whole life talking about his career.
You think she's not going to come?
Wait, FaceTime anything?
You think that woman, the way she talks, is letting Matthew Stafford wander around the mean streets of Cleveland by himself?
Gallivant?
Are you crazy?
With the black women playing in his hair?
Where did that come? Where did these African American females come from, Tyvis? In your mind, where did that?
Boy's on one today.
Where did that happen?
He's gonna be hanging out in East Cleveland.
they have. You think Kirk Cousins wore some bling? Oh man, Matthew Stafford have his ears pierced. He had the biggest 9-chain gangster grill in. They have me right in Cleveland.
Oh my God,
the mean streets of Cleveland.
And by the way, if I have to hear one more person talk about Justin Fields to the Browns,
go Bucks.
Justin Fields sucks.
Hey.
He is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. I know he's your boy. No offense. But I'm offending him. He's not very good.
He do be looking confused, though.
I mean, he can't play. And is
there
a guy less appropriate for Kevin Stefanski than Justin Fields, who can't read anything?
It wouldn't bring some excitement to see Justin Fields at quarterback.
No.
He'd take it to the house with his legs for 60 seconds.
And then throw 6 picks on the next drive.
Throw picks.
Tyvis still thinks the Wildcat is viable. Yeah. That Wildcat is viable.
Listen.
Oh, my gosh.
We got a bunch of holes to fill right now anyways. The quarterback is just the main one, but we need a run game too and all those things.
All right,
don't look at me like that.
Speaking of the Browns, G, you got an Ultimate Brown show coming up, right?
Somebody's calling me from Willoughby. I can't
people
answer.
Calling us during the show. What is happening here?
Yeah. So
G, tell us about the Ultimate Brown.
Brown. So we got an Ultimate Brown show today. We're going to talk about the people that are not coming to the Cleveland Browns.
Like Matt Stafford.
Like Matt Stafford and his lineage, his children, his family will not be there. We'll dive
some haters. Y'all got kids and families here. Y'all against.
We're not haters. We love it here.
Well, then why can't they get here and love it?
We love it. We love it here. Matter of fact, there's some people that don't even come to Cleveland just because of the colors. Just because the colors is brown and orange, they're like, hey, I'm out on that. So we'll talk about a lot of that stuff. We'll get into some draft stuff and. We'll figure out something. And,
Zac Jackson is here in studio. Zac, how you doing?
Matt Stafford coming to Cleveland. Okay.
Percentage chance there, Zac.
Very, very close to 0.
I mean, can you imagine if who's the GM? Les Snead, is that their GM?
Yeah.
If he goes, Matt, we got an idea. I know you're 38, 39, whatever the hell you. How about we send you to Cleveland for your final team?
Well, he did a decade in Detroit and didn't win.
Yeah.
But he went to L.A., he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think L.A.'s close, right? They played Philly the best.
Yeah, they did. You're right.
I mean, Cooper Kupp is just washed. He's just over 30.
Yeah.
And he makes a lot of money, so they're going to move on. They're not even going to be able to trade him. They're going to have to cut him. So I don't think those two things are necessarily tied together.
Exactly.
I mean, you look at Stafford, he's at the end of his career. He's probably not one of the elite guys, right?
Yeah.
But he throws it great. He has the pedigree, his championship pedigree, number one pick. A lot of teams would love to have Matt Stafford. Do I see him landing with the Browns? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I think if they did want to trade him and he did want to move, it would probably find a better spot. And I think, like as you mentioned.
But it has nothing to do with the city of Cleveland.
No, not to me.
See?
Okay. Well, we were more talking about the team than the city anyway.
Yeah, like.
No, y'all wasn't.
Yeah.
The city was part of it. It was more about the team.
It was like, hey, his wife don't want to move to Cleveland.
That's
the whole point.
That's fact. No wife wants to move here.
But that's because she's hoity-toity, even though I don't know that that's actually true.
You think Patrick Mahomes' wife wouldn't come to Cleveland?
Well, she's kind of trashy, so maybe. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
See, Zach, this is why we can't get on regular TV.
That's right. That's what happens.
Understandable.
Yeah, Zach, do you
Oh my goodness!
If they, to me, like it doesn't matter who the bridge quarterback is to me because they have no chance of winning the Super Bowl next year, right? Whether it's Kirk Cousins or Andy Dalton or just none of those guys are going to make them winners. So if you're going to draft a young quarterback, I don't know that they will, but they probably will at some point. If it's an early draft, like first or second round, they draft a quarterback. I'd rather bring in a veteran like Andy Dalton, who I know is going to be a good mentor for that young guy, rather than, well, maybe Kirk Cousins is the best of the bunch, even though he might not be as good a mentor, but we can win more with him. What's more important to you in terms of whoever they bring in as a veteran?
Well, I know what you're saying, but this is where this team's at a weird crossroads because the guys in charge are trying to keep their jobs.
That's right.
So they want a bridge quarterback who's going to give them a chance to win X number of games. I think you easily make the case, right, that the way you feel better about the Browns a year from now is that the rookie quarterback looks like he's a keeper. Right? Whether it's first round, third round.
Right.
And that's why if they will only win 4 or 5 games, you're like the Patriots. You're like, all right, they got the guy.
Right.
Now we build around him. They're going to move past a lot of this dead money and, and start to move on to the next chapter. So, yeah, it does matter who the bridge quarterback is because these guys are trying to keep their jobs. And you don't want to only win 3 games.
Right.
But I agree. Like, just big picture sense before you dive into anything else. How next February when we're having this discussion, how are you saying, hey, the Browns are a playoff team? It's the rookie quarterback going into his second year. And
That's it. You're right. You brought up the team. Like the Patriots' record, if you just look at their record, they were terrible. But if you're a Patriots fan right now, you have this optimism because you know that Drake May had 0 talent around him.
Right.
And yet you saw signs that this guy might be how good, we don't know yet. But that he has the ability to be a good quarterback.
I mean, you got to have your guy, right?
Yeah.
You're chasing these guys.
Yes.
And Lamar and Josh can't get there, but they're not going anywhere. Right. The Bengals didn't make the playoffs, but they could win the Super Bowl every year.
That's right.
They have Joe Burrow.
That's right.
Right? So you got to have that guy. You need to have a good defense. You need to have things go your way a lot. But you need to have that guy to realistically be a Super Bowl team.
So at number 2, what is your thoughts? Where are you at? The Browns should take Shador? Are you Abdul Carter? Did the quarterback Jackson Dart maybe second round? Where are you at?
So big picture, Tyvis, I think you need to take the quarterback because I just think you have to have it. However, people that I talk to, that try to make me sound smart as hard as that is, they say that there's no guy here. That's what they say. And I think when you look at it, taking me, you, whoever out of it, I think there's 3 paths. I think it's take Abdul Carter, Myles or no Myles. I think it's trade down and kind of embrace the rebuild, but it's probably no Myles. And then it's take the quarterback. I don't think they're taking Travis Hunter. I just don't. I think he's a wide receiver right now, and they have other needs, right? So I think it's take Abdul Carter, take the quarterback, or trade down and try to stack picks and embrace that this team is 2 drafts away.
Yes.
Myles or no Myles, great quarterback, mid quarterback, whatever. This team is 2 good drafts away, and they need to replenish. So I can make a case there for any of those, but I think it's pretty clear. Like, and really, when you have the 2 pick, you shouldn't have 8 options. You should have a few. Yeah. So I think most likely is take Abdul Carter or trade down, and then see who you're getting at 6, at 8, at 10, wherever it is that you trade down to.
There's a thought process.
I'm on the Abdul Carter thing too.
The premise for me that I can't understand is people will say, okay, there's no one in this draft, right? There's no one. There's nobody in this draft. But their
quarterback is what they say.
But their name's in next year's draft. And I'm like, oh, well, give me a name. Well, I don't know yet. You
talking about the quarterback?
Yeah, they're like,
Arch Manning, Gus Nuttmeyer, Drew Aller.
Nussmeier's the one for me. Kevin Stefanski's
the BY Jew
coming out. The guy that went to Miami.
Arch Manning, I've seen him play like twice. Like
that's fine.
Well, nobody's seen him play more than twice. Yeah.
So my thing is, even if you get this draft capital, you have it. You can move around the board with it. If either one of these guys are top bona fide picks, no one's trading with you.
That's true.
That's a fact.
No one's going to trade.
Depending on who it is. It would have to be
when Andrew Luck came out, you couldn't.
No. It would. I'm saying if the number 1 team was I don't know. Let's say it was the Eagles. Let's just say Jalen Hurts got hurt all last season, and that's why they.
Yeah, but what are the odds of
They're
that?
not. I'm just saying it's possible, but I'm just saying that would be the reason.
Wait, I want to get back to Zach said something there. Who did you say your guy was for next year?
Nussmeier, the kid from LSU. Okay. That is a Kevin Stefanski quarterback.
Yeah.
His dad has been in coaching. That's the offense that he runs. That's how he's built.
Right.
That's the guy that I like. And he absolutely made the right move going back to school. But he is going to be a guy that's going to be Heisman favorite, top 5 discussion.
If the second part of the question is like you said, they're trying to keep their jobs. If you draft Abdul Carter and you draft a couple other positions, a left tackle, and go and you win 3 games, you won't even be there to take Nussmeier.
That's
so
right.
it's what do you like? The only way, in my opinion, that they can truly save their jobs is if they get like a bridge quarterback that gets 8 or 9 wins and wasn't supposed to win, or you get, like you said, the quarterback that is you got him. You play a couple games solid here or there. They win 3, 4, 5 games. You get some excitement. You say, that guy is our guy. And then you get to keep your jobs and coach the guy.
Well, that's what it comes down to, Garrett. We could talk about it for 5 minutes or 5 hours. Deshaun Watson sunk this team and is going to get everybody fired. So the guys in charge can't operate that way. But we're all on the outside knowing the truth.
Yeah.
Like, that's where they are.
Yeah.
They still, after this year, owe him $130 million. Right? They don't have an answer to plug in, and that's what you have to hope.
Right.
So you have to nail 2 drafts. You have to nail the quarterback. You have to get lucky with some, which you can. And like previous Browns teams that won 3 games and were awful did not have Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett. I get it.
Right.
But like that's where this team is. Like they were all in on Watson, all these contracts, these older players. Many of this team's best players were still acquired by the previous regimes, and these guys have been here 6 years.
Yeah.
And so you go belly up, adjusting contracts and banking on Watson. Not even ever going to play another snap for you, right? And so it has to be about the future.
Do you think that Jimmy did the right thing keeping both Berry and Stefanski?
I don't know that. Probably not.
Yeah.
But I understand why he did it.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is being burdened by the past and not trusting himself. Right?
Yeah.
If they think they're the right guys and they can get him out of it, sure. But if I'm Andrew Berry right now, the only way I can save my job is to trade Myles Garrett and maximize those picks. Because I think Garrett said it. Sure, we do this, we do that. We still win 3 games, still win 4 games.
Yeah.
Abdul Carter looks like a hit 3 years from now. Well, that's not keeping anybody's job next January.
Yeah,
that's true. Speaking of trading Myles Garrett, obviously there are some complications from a contract standpoint, and because of the Watson disaster, even though Jimmy's willing to spend more than most owners, it's still a bad cap situation if they trade Myles Garrett. But ultimately, you think with him obviously holding their feet to the fire, they will eventually trade him?
I think they will.
Okay.
I'm not saying with certainty.
Okay.
But they already have $40 million in dead money, right? That's before you count Jed Wills, and that's before you count Watson, which is completely dead money.
Wow. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you're at 80-some million in dead money, public school math, before you get to anything else, right? And like the way they've rolled it over and the way the cap keeps rising, like teams use dead money, you push money forward, but you got to have the guys to show for it. The Eagles do it as much as anyone. But the Eagles' down year was last year, 10 wins and a first-round exit.
Right.
The Browns are in a bad way. And Batonio's up after this year, and Teller's up after this year, and Njoku's up after this. And all those guys have dead money after that.
Right.
Like I said, a year ago, the Broncos cut Russell Wilson with a record 85 dead money.
Yeah.
The Browns owe Deshaun Watson twice that. Now, you can spread it over 6 years, but you're not getting rid of it. $170 million on the Browns cap in somewhere between the next 2 and 5 years is going to Deshaun Watson, who will never play a snap and sunk this iteration by not being able to complete a 5-yard pass.
Yeah. It almost seems as if the only Hail Mary, like even if you trade Myles Garrett, seems like the only Hail Mary is if you get lucky on a quarterback, and it distracts us from the fact that you can't.
But it might take 2 years to get there.
Can you put a roster out if you? I heard
you can, but it's going to be a young one. But that's if you hit, and that's where you could start to build out, Garrett. Okay, like is Jalen Milroe, is Will Howard in the 3rd round, this Tyler Shuck from you could start to build out there, and then if it comes into play, if the ifs go your way, and along the way, Abdul Carter is great, or the left tackle is great, or trading down in Mason Graham, and then in a future first rounder is great.
Don't say that to him.
Right?
Yeah.
I can't.
Like here's a really realistic scenario: the Browns trade down to 6.
He gonna be an All-Pro just to let
get
you know.
a really good lineman at 6. Get a really good lineman at 33. Have 2 first rounders for next year. Have that quarterback, whomever it is from that group, or even the bridge quarterback.
Garrett Nussmeier. Let's
Right.
just go with that.
Now you go into next year with looking functional with 2 first-rounders.
Right.
And you try to get as much dead money off the books as you
I think, to me, especially when it comes to Stefanski, I almost feel like we're talking about, if they have a terrible season, they're going to get fired. But that's really the worst-case scenario. It's like, to me, if you're Jimmy, you either should have fired them now or you have to give them 2 more years. If it's true, what everybody seems to say in the know, that none of these guys are short things at quarterback and that the short things are coming next year, then you really, if you've stuck with them, I feel like you have to give them 2 years, but I don't know that that's the case.
Right. It's just the reality of the situation. They can't win 3 games again, right?
Right.
And the only way is if they win 2 of those 3 at the end with some rookie QB who they got for nothing, for pick 67 or something like that.
Yeah.
And they look like that they've changed the trajectory here.
Yeah.
They have spent so much in free agency, which was part of their plan. We're going to outspend. We're going to do this. And it just doesn't work historically. But teams that make it work, that guy plays for a year, plays for half a year, and then gets passed by a rookie draft pick. And keep that's what the Browns haven't had. They haven't had that guy.
They have no good young players, almost none.
There's a chance that no player from last year's team ever becomes a last year's draft class ever becomes a significant contributor to that team. And you can't overcome that when you have cap problems. No.
Let me ask you, where were you when they acquired Deshaun? Where were you at?
I was at Chick-fil-A in Canton, Ohio. It's funny you asked, Tyvis. It was the end of free agency week.
Chick-fil-A.
It was the end of free agency week. It was the start of the NCAA tournament. Ohio State played the noon game.
Go Bucks.
I went to my friend's house. We watched the game, and I was picking up dinner for the kids. On my way home, I was going to a birthday party that night, and I'm standing in Chick-fil-A waiting for my online order, and I get the text.
And how did you feel?
I knew that it was over for me. The life had just changed.
Oh, I see.
Right?
I see. Yeah,
not just that weekend,
but
the life had changed, right? So now, I didn't know that he was going to be that bad, and I understood.
So you was with the trade. You was like, oh, that's a great move.
As soon as I saw 3 first-rounders, I don't know. But I knew they were moving on from Baker Mayfield. I knew that game in Pittsburgh and the day after was the last time that Baker Mayfield was ever going to set foot in that facility, at least until he's on TV in 10 years, right? Yeah. But
Zach, real quick,
they tried that at a time that
Zach?
there just weren't many options.
What made you think, and what made you know that was the end of the Baker tenure?
Baker and Stefanski were done. They could not coexist. It was time to pay him, and they had made the organizational decision. Barry, Stefanski, everybody, they didn't want to pay him, and they just knew that it was time to move on. And so Baker wanted paid. Obviously, they hadn't done that, and it wasn't working internally for many reasons.
Right.
And that part was right. Baker was never going to win them the Super Bowl. They were ready to go for it. They thought they were good enough. That showed in all their actions. They just made the wrong decision on the back end.
Baker was gone either way. They were going to get another quarterback.
They were, yes, if there was any available. And they got to the point there was none available. And Deshaun Watson told them no on Thursday.
Yeah.
And on Friday, when I was trying to get my chicken nuggets, they guaranteed that contract. And Deshaun said, you know what? Yes, I should have never told you no.
Are they?
But wait, before we move off of this, wait a minute. So after they did that, do you think the biggest mistake made was not trading? I know everybody says trade for him was the biggest mistake, but do you think the biggest mistake was last year how they handled the play calling situation? Because they went out and got Ken Dorsey to help with the shotgun, but yet Kevin still called the plays. It wasn't until Deshaun got hurt that Ken became the play caller. Do you think that Ken should have been the play caller?
No, that doesn't make the top 5 for me.
Okay.
They fully guaranteed the contract, and it was very clear it went from awkward to stuck, and then it just kept getting more stuck because he wasn't the guy. The team was built around him. He wasn't a fit with the coach. All of these things
That's
they
the part
kept doing.
I just don't understand. They said they sat down and watched tape. You watched him how he played, and you seen your system. How do you not know that y'all aren't the same? Y'all don't go together.
Well, I mean, they thought that it would work.
Oh, my
goodness.
They
reinvested in Njoku. They got Amari Cooper. The Cooper trade was made the week before the Deshaun trade was made. They thought all of these things were going to just click. And then they were willing to wipe away the first year and say, you know what, he had the suspension. He was the first game, he had never been in the huddle with those guys until like 3 days before. Yeah. Like, of course it didn't look great. But to me, it was the Philly joint practices the summer of 23 when I was like, he's just not, this is broken. Like, he's not good. They don't know how to adjust. And like, they have a good team, but it's just not clicking here. And he played like some good games, some good quarters, but it never went. And then last year, the summer was even worse, and the whole thing, the fit, it was just so bad.
You was the first person that came in here after
That's
training
true. Zach was saying,
and he said, "Tyvus,
it was bad when everybody else was saying it was looking better."
They could not complete a pass. The quick game looks terrible. I was like, and that's when I was like, if he's saying that, oh, it's terrible, and that's exactly what
I've never seen a guy hold the ball in 7-on-7.
Oh, you didn't, man? Listen,
I've never seen. He's the only one I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, I'm about to say, listen, we did joint practices with Houston in 2018, we did joint practice, 49ers. And we sat there and watched the 7-on-7 tape, and this man literally just stood there. You know, usually you got like a bounce. No, he stood still just like this for like 10 seconds, then threw it. And we just started laughing like,
why is he so good in Houston?
Why is they letting this go on?
Well, I think that his mind and life were in a different place. That's true. And I think he just played, and he's super talented. Brown should have drafted him the first time.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
yeah,
they traded the pick that the Texans made, you know, and then they end up taking Pepper's 13 picks later.
So I know McNuggets wants to get in here. So as we listen to this saga, you say he had a problem with Baker. Looks like he had some miscommunication stuff with Deshaun. Even at the end, even with Jameis Winston, Jameis is like, "Well, I thought you was calling plays. You're not. I came here for that reason." Is this a pattern with Stefanski? Or is this he just had bad luck? Because if I'm looking at it, that's like 2 strikes. Like, he has to get the quarterback right, or is this whole thing washed or done?
I think you can fairly say it's a pattern. I think you can fairly say for all his strengths and the way you like him and the way they think that he runs the team and manages represents the organization, he has to get the quarterback right or he's not going to be employed. Like he has to. And so whether that has to be him driving every decision and saying my opinion counts the most, or I need a specific kind of guy to do this, you know, and that's the thing. They're trying to win to save their jobs, but when do you put the rookie in?
Yeah.
You know, how ready are these rookies? I think when you look at Shedeur in camp and they look at all the football they've played and how they've come up, like they should be ready right away. But like if you don't grade them as ready to actually take you, then I understand you wait and go get someone else. Like what's different about this quarterback class is almost all of these guys are crazy experienced and older. That was Bill Parcells' thing. And a lot of times you're drafting guys that just haven't played, right? They did 2 years, a season and a half as a starter. They're 21. All of these guys are 22, 23, 4+ college seasons. So you are getting that. But if you just grade that they're not any good, you know, Kenny Pickett was 24.
Right, he stinks.
He's a Super Bowl champion.
He is. He threw one pass in the game. Go ahead.
Along those lines, Zach, I hear all the thinking out there that says if you don't like a quarterback, don't force it. I totally understand that. I also understand that when you have the number 2 pick and don't have to give up assets to potentially draft a quarterback that high, most teams take advantage of that. Zach, if you were in Andrew Berry's shoes, and I know we're still over 2 months away from the draft, so your opinion can change, but as of February 11th at 12:17, who would you take at number 2 if you had to pick a quarterback?
I'll tell you this, that it's a completely different answer than I would have given you 3 weeks ago, but it's Abdul Carter. That's who I would take.
Okay, but if you had to take a quarterback.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Who would you? I thought you said who?
Yeah. Let's say they were all available and you had to take.
I'm probably taking Cam Ward.
You would have taken, okay.
If they're all available, but I've kind of shifted my thinking into find one in that second tier that you love.
Gotcha. And you think Abdul Carter's the no-brainer pick though too?
I wouldn't say no-brainer, but I think in this situation, if you can't trade out, I think that's who I'd be taking.
And if you're the Browns, when it comes to go back to trading Myles Garrett, because I've heard some fans, well, they should trade him to a terrible team. Well, what terrible team is going to trade for Myles Garrett? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So, to me, the perfect scenario is a mid-tier team that he could buy Myles Garrett, that they could be a contender, and they think they're a contender, but they're really not. Maybe, or maybe they turn out not to be, like Arizona or Dallas, preferably in the NFC. Would you be like, is any team on the table? Would they trade him to the Bills or like?
I would throw all of that out the window about where he goes, because if they get a real offer that they like, the first thing they have to do is go to 3 other teams and up it. Like, they have to maximize this, but that's their one chance. And the division teams, they don't have the money to trade for him, or right. Yeah. So I wouldn't care if it was Buffalo, if it was Detroit, if it was wherever. And might see him on your schedule next year, big deal, right?
Right.
Like, I think this is Andrew Berry's way to save his job, is to get this load of picks and hit them. And because right now, no one here believes that the Browns are going to win more than 7 games next year.
No.
And you might not think they're going to win more than 5.
Fair.
Right?
Fair. Yeah, 100%.
So show me a plan that changes that.
And do you think, what's the bottom? Like, are they at least getting 2 first round? I know they're not getting 3 first rounds, but are they at least getting 2 and
That's
then maybe
like
something
where
else?
you're starting. Like, give me 2. So if it ends up a 1 or 2 a player and 4 swaps, something like that. Yeah. But that's where you're starting that discussion.
Let me ask you, because Jason was on and he was talking about, getting the picks. Because I'm with you. I probably would trade Myles too. I would love for him and Abdul Carter to be together, but I think you're going to have to trade them at some point. Would you take those picks for the future, or would you take them for this upcoming draft?
If I was the owners of the team, I would want them for beyond, because I might need those premium picks to recruit my next guys. And again, that goes back to the whole rub of the whole deal. Man, I want to say one thing, Tyvis. This is just my opinion, but you brought up Jackson Dart. Okay, this is just my opinion.
Okay.
I don't think he's any good, and here's why.
Oh.
Right? Big-time recruit, USC, Ole Miss, 3-year starter, crazy numbers, 9 to 11 wins, right? Looks the part, has all the tools. If he was good, like, somebody be telling you he's good.
I mean, they gave him a first-round pick.
I think
he's one of those.
That's just how I read it from 20 years of doing this.
My only thing about him, my flaw with him is his numbers is fine, but when this season, when they had to play some good competition, his numbers was never that good.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. So I'm like, okay, so you're gonna have these great numbers against all these other teams. In the NFL, every team is good. So I need you to play well at every game. And if you go back and you look at the 3 losses, the overtime to LSU, I can't remember. Florida beat them, which is
I know about
Florida, and then I can't remember who the last one was, but like it was just his game was just okay. But apparently he did well at the Senior Bowl. That's the thing.
Tyler Shuck was the best thrower at the Senior Bowl.
Well, then
he'll be 26 in September. No, if you think,
well, Brandon Weed.
He was Justin Herbert's backup at Oregon. He's still in college.
Come on, man.
He was the best. I'm an amateur.
Did you go to the Senior Bowl?
Yeah. I mean, I have a PhD in bad quarterbacks more than good, obviously.
How was Jalen Milroe?
But that's not his environment.
They said his stuff went down.
But that's not his environment.
What you mean?
That's not his environment.
Right. If they came up to the podium, that's wild. If they came to the podium and handed the pick in and they said the Browns took Shedeur Sanders, how do you think the fan base reacts and the media reacts? Is it a 50-50 split again?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't.
Is it as divisive as the Bakers and the Deshaun's
and John Manziel
and the Johnnies and the
people weren't really divided on John. I mean, the smart people were.
Hey, I was a Manziel. I like, and then I'm like, man, he don't do nothing. He can't read defenses at all. He don't even hang out. Like,
I mean, that's the sick part about this quarterback thing. Like, if they did take a quarterback, the one thing that I ask is please let them know how to at least read a defense. I feel like you can fix everything else. The fact that people can't read a simple defense.
I feel like Shedeur can do that.
Hey, all right. Thank you. That's a starter. Put him on put the tape on. Put him on the board and say, within 2 seconds, give me what coverage this is. If you can't answer that question, I don't want you.
Pat Shermer's a joke here, but I mean that was Shedeur's play caller.
Right.
Like
it's ridiculous.
He's ready for the NFL now. Teams just don't think that he's great. That's just what I've gathered. Right, but he's ready for the NFL.
Like he'll is the thought that maybe he'll be a starter in the league, but he's going to be a lower tier starter.
Yes, right? Yes, that's just what I've gathered. Yeah. Yes, and the same with Cam Ward. People are like, he's really good, but like I wouldn't want to take him in the top 5.
So it's not an Anthony Richardson situation where the guy's going to.
No, that's what I mean. All of these guys are older and have played.
Yeah.
You know, Quinn Ewers is one of the few that really has not played all of that much.
Right.
You know, the rest of them are like multi-year starters. Most multi-programs, everybody transfers now. They're all 22 to 24. Shook's going to be 26. That's different than Anthony Richardson.
Last thing, Zach, running back in this draft. Like it's a position they need to address. Obviously, you're not going to address it in the first round.
There's tons of them.
Is there a guy you've got your eye on somewhere here? Like, because we see all the time. Look at the Bengals, Chase Brown. I don't remember what round they took him. Fifth.
Yeah.
Like, and he's a dynamic back. Like, you can find guys like that.
It seems like it's that kind of year.
Yeah.
Travion Henderson, 3rd round sprint to pick up.
Third round, he might be the second.
He
back
probably
off the board.
he might. You right. You know what?
After the Michigan game, he would have got Henderson in the 3rd or 4th round, but not after the playoffs.
I know.
Yeah.
Is there a guy?
That's a good. I like the kid from Kansas. I thought he was the best one at the Senior Bowl.
Okay,
but this top group, the Iowa kid, who's really good. Obviously, the Boise kid's going to go high. Like they're going to go before the Browns are in the running back business. But it does seem like there's a lot of them. And are the Browns taking the starter for the future, or are they taking a compliment? I mean, we don't know if Nick Chubb's coming back. Jerome Ford's only under contract for this year. The other guys, they're not NFL running backs.
Before we let you go, are you aware of the fact? I don't know if we have the picture to put up. No. Of how bizarre Jason Lloyd looks in a hat. Are you aware of this?
Oh, my goodness.
Have I ever seen Jason
Notice
Lloyd
that
in a
next
hat?
time. Every time he wears, I don't know, it's just something like his face looks bizarre with a hat. I don't know what it is.
He's the greatest bar back of all time. He's like,
all right. Well, we may need a story on that.
He asks the undercover girls all the time, "Hey, I need your ID."
Zach, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it. Great insight from Zach, and I'll tell you, I'm going to talk about. Let me tell you something else. Just put the camera on me here for a second, Anthony, so we can take Zach off.
All right, guys.
That information Zach had, where he talked about how Baker was going to be gone anyway. We kind of talked about that before, but Zach was way more definitive than we've ever had a conversation about that. This idea that it was, Watson led to pushing out Baker.
No.
Zach, the guy's been covering the team for 20 years. He knows. He told you definitively. And I'm not, listen, you can blame Stefanski, and that's fine. I'm not saying it's Baker's fault necessarily, but Baker was gone. That relationship had soured. We alluded to it. We talked around it, but Zach was very direct on that.
I mean, we now know that he wasn't taking people's calls.
Yep.
We now know that other people on the team, including Myles Garrett, were upset that you put yourself back in the game when you were injured, and then at the last part of the season said you're done now after you tanked all the season. Like, I don't know, the revisionist history that Baker was somehow fraudulently just jettisoned. We ran him. I'm like, bro, did you not remember that? Do you not remember all these things happening?
I mean, all that stuff has come out since then. I mean, even he's come out and said that I shouldn't have never played hurt like that. It probably wasn't the smartest thing.
And he says, I was in my bag. I was doing a lot of stuff. I was immature. I grew up. And he's
a different guy now. There's no doubt about it. And by the way, this idea, I've seen this a number of people on Twitter now, that Myles Garrett ran Baker out of town. That's just silly.
Come on.
That's just silly. Yes, Myles Garrett and a lot of the players were annoyed about that. Myles Garrett was annoyed about it with him a few years ago with the whole, helmet incident.
It's crazy.
But Myles Garrett didn't run Baker Mayfield out of Cleveland.
It's
That's
crazy
ridiculous.
how everybody really slowly are starting to say, like, I think I'd take Abdul Carter at 2. Like, that's because when I said it last week, I know y'all probably looked at my text like,
Yeah.
But it's crazy that everybody else is really starting to come around to
A lot of mocks are also starting to put Abdul Carter.
Well, here's the thing, guys. I think part of that is obviously people think Myles Garrett's going to be traded, so it makes a lot of sense. And it may all be groupthink, who knows, but, like, Zach knows a lot of people in the league. And all the people he's talking to are saying these guys aren't special quarterbacks. If again, I don't know enough. If the Browns believe there's no quarterback worth taking at 2, then you shouldn't take a quarterback at 2. In most years, there is somebody worth it. Maybe this is one of those rare years, like the Kenny Pickett year, where there isn't. I don't know the answer to that, But if the Browns believe nobody's worth it, then they cannot take a quarterback.
But see, the problem is, I mean, listen, the fans will be upset because the worst thing that could happen is if you don't take a Shedeur Sanders and he go out there and he balls out. That's everybody gonna be like, oh my goodness.
Isn't it worse if they take him and he's not any good?
No.
Because at least you try.
It's actually a great topic for tomorrow. We'll do that tomorrow. The pressure of taking a quarterback versus him panning out elsewhere. But
The Browns can't take a quarterback because of pressure. That's a mistake.
Oh, sure you can. Easy to say you ain't on the hot seat.
That's true.
Yeah. I'm gonna add that to the list tomorrow. That'd be a great
Yeah.
discussion topic. We gotta get a FanDuel read in here, guys. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action, and if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And speaking of the NBA and speaking of FanDuel, they update their season win totals for each team every night.
Oh.
And after last night's win for the Cavs, their projected season win total on FanDuel is set at 63.5 wins. Just shy of 66, which is the franchise record. The team currently sits at 43-10, 53 games into the season. They have 29 games left. FanDuel is basically saying, will the Cavs win 21 of their final 29 games?
21 puts them over?
21 would put them over. That'd be 64 wins.
Right.
So
Okay.
20-9 would be under 63. 21-8 or anything better than 21-8 would be the over. So the number 63.5 wins for the Cavs. Guys, would you take the over?
Over, under. They're going 21-8 or better, or 20-9 and worse?
Over.
I'm going to look at the schedule.
I got to look at the schedule.
We're going to play a little bit of schedule
I need
game
to see
here.
the schedule.
I'll read you the schedule. I got it up right here.
Okay, go ahead.
So to end the first half of the season, the proverbial first half of the season, they have at Toronto. Should be a win. We're not going to go game by game, but when they come back from the All-Star break, they start on
Mike,
the
give
road.
me the legitimate opponents they play. Let's just do that.
Sec.
Go ahead.
They start after the All-Star break with a game in Brooklyn. After that game in Brooklyn, they have a brutal 4-game stretch. Home against the Knicks, but it's the second night of a back-to-back for the Cavs.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go to Memphis, who is one of the best teams in the West. Mm-hmm. They come back home and take on they stay on the road and take on Orlando, and then they head to Boston on the road.
Memphis
so a
is
4-game
home.
stretch. That's what I said.
You said
home against New York, home against Memphis, on the road for Orlando, on the road for Boston.
Okay,
that's
hold
a tough
on.
4-game stretch right there.
Memphis, Knicks, Memphis, Orlando, Boston. Okay.
Then it's a couple games, Portland, Chicago, Miami, Charlotte, Then another tougher stretch comes. At Milwaukee, home versus the Nets.
But wait a second. Giannis probably is not back by then, right?
No.
That's a month and
March 9th.
A month from today. So
yeah.
No.
Maybe.
Okay.
At Milwaukee, home versus the Nets. At Memphis, home versus Orlando, and then they start their 5-game West Coast road trip. At the Clippers, at the Kings, at the Suns, at Utah, at Portland. That is 5 games in 7 nights on the West Coast.
Okay.
Then they're home for San Antonio. A couple games not so tough. And then another tough stretch. Home versus the Clippers, home versus the Knicks, at San Antonio, home versus the Sacramento Kings. And they finish the season at Indiana, at the Knicks, home versus Indiana.
I'm going with the over.
It's going to be close.
I'm going with the over.
It's going to be close.
I think they'll lose if they got to go to Memphis, they'll lose the Memphis game. They'll lose the Knicks game. They might lose the Celtics game.
Here's the thing, too. If we're down remember, something you got to keep in mind. And I'm going to go under. And here's why.
No, they're going to rest some starters.
Because the last week or two, if they have a 5-game lead in the conference, they're going to really give rest. Their last 2 games, they might not play anybody. Once they clinch the 1 seed, the starters might not play at all or very little.
That's even worse for the opponents because that means Imani Bates is getting crazy minutes.
Exactly. Crazy
He
minutes.
scored his first points of the season last night, G.
Yeah.
For the pig farmer. Crazy minutes for
Jalen Tyson.
Imani
Tyson.
Bates. Tyson.
Narrow.
And we need
But
OKC
all jokes aside, I'll be interested to see. I want to get Dean Wade back. I think there's something to be said about having guys ready for that stretch run and getting the rotation down. I want to see the Dean Wades get back. I want to see Okoro play more and get back into shape.
Yeah.
Because it seems like those guys have been out for a long period of time. Max Strus, I really want to see him get into the mix and start shooting the ball well and getting his legs up underneath him so we can have that rotation ready to go. So I want to see. It's always tough adding these new pieces and parts in at the deadline. And then when you got injuries, it's like you adding in new players again every time somebody comes back into the lineup. So I think there's some opportunities to play those guys a little bit more, but I do think you are correct. If you do get into a playoff situation where you do feel like you're going to be going all the way into May and hopefully June, if everything goes right, you're going to need Donovan's legs to be right. You want Evan's legs to be, you don't want those guys to be tired out.
Yeah.
So it's borderline.
Yeah.
Because I think they are going to sit some guys if
So
they
are you
clinch.
taking the over or under?
I'm still taking the over, though.
I'm going under, Mike. I say they go 20-9 the rest of the season and fall a half game shy. That would mean they'd finish 63-29.
63-19.
Oh, sorry, in 19.
63 and 19.
Which would be a hell of a season.
That's a
Their
great
over-under
record.
to start the season was 48.5.
Yeah.
Which would be 15 games over
Yeah,
that.
I mean, they're just about to pass that already.
And I
Yeah.
think the franchise record, if I'm not mistaken, is 66.
Yeah.
66, correct.
So I'm going under, just slightly under, because I think there'll be a couple games late in the year where they got nothing to play for.
Wow.
What are you saying, Mike?
I agree with you, Bull. I would go slightly under, but I would not be surprised in the slightest whatsoever if they go over. I do think.
I think they win between 61 and 67 games. That's the range for me.
If Boston wasn't 5.5 games back, and this was a 2.5 game lead.
Oh, yeah.
I'd take the over. I do think the fact that because they have such a gap between them and the second seed, they're going to rest guys. They're going to give guys on second nights of back-to-backs in 5 and 7, which they have on the West Coast. They're going to give guys rest to make sure they're 100% ready for the playoffs, because regardless of what they do in the regular season, I don't care if it's the 1 seed. They need their guys healthy for the playoffs.
Right.
And they're going to be incorporating Hunter into the mix. They're going to figure out how to get Strus, Okoro, and Wade into these rotations now as Kenny tries to finalize his playoff rotation. So I would expect them to kind of experiment with some different lineups that may work great and may not. And if you lose a random game on a Tuesday night to the Kings because you tried a lineup that didn't work, well, so be it.
Now, the good thing is the Cavs, when healthy, are so deep and talented that when they play the really bad teams, they may win even if Donovan and Darius don't play much. And Mobley.
100%.
They could beat the Nets and the Raptors and teams like that.
They beat Detroit when Donovan wasn't playing.
Right. So they'll win some of those games. But even coming back from the break, they come back with a back-to-back. Like, are you going to play Donovan a ton against Brooklyn when you got, the Knicks or Memphis the next day?
Well, in that one particular instance, the first came out of the All-Star break. So yes, but your point stands in other back-to-backs.
Yeah. But even in that one, Mike, maybe you played Donovan a little less than you would first game back since he played in the All-Star game and whatever. Anyway, go ahead.
I can tell you this. Like on March 4th, they're in Chicago. On March 5th, they're home versus Miami. They're going to have some guys who don't play in that first Chicago game, and they have guys that won't play in that second Miami game.
That's right.
And they'll stagger them.
Yes.
And there's other back-to-backs throughout the season.
Right.
They got a couple stretches where it's 5 and 8, 5 and 7. Kenny Atkinson, as long as the lead's a couple games for first place, I don't think they're going to push or overextend anybody for the sake of winning a regular season
That's right.
game.
Because at this point, they're not breaking any records.
They'd have to. No, they can't. They have 10 losses. The record's
Right. I mean,
not,
they could break their franchise record, but do we care? Do you care at the end of the year if the Cavs end up with 64 or 67 wins? I mean, what's the difference?
I could care less.
As long as they're the 1 seed.
Everybody cares about the postseason.
And I guess I'm assuming you guys don't care about having the best record in the league.
I mean, yeah, for the finals.
Like, yes.
If you got to play OKC,
I mean, you'd rather.
Does home court in the finals?
Yes.
I don't think you're.
Yes, but hey, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
We just talked about the Cavs having a 5.5 game lead.
Right. The Thunder are going to do the same thing.
They have an 8-game lead
Yeah,
over
they're not
Memphis
gonna-
in the West. They're facing the
Who's
exact
two
same
in the
stuff.
West?
Like, here's
Memphis.
the thing. If the Cavs are tied with the Thunder on the last game of the season,
Yeah, 100%.
what?
If they're tied, you go for it. Yeah, that game matters.
But if, yeah, I guess if it's tied, yeah.
I think we're saying it because in our minds, we don't want to just jump out there and say, "Oh, we're going to the finals." Like if this was LeBron's team back in 2016 when we knew we were going to the finals,
Sure, then it's different. Yeah.
Then it's like, oh no,
but
we
with
need that
LeBron's
record.
team, it doesn't really matter because he can win on the road.
Yeah, he can win.
Yeah.
Not here, we ain't seen it.
Crazy.
Right.
We have not seen this bunch win on the road. So
No.
for me,
Yeah.
if
Now we don't know Oklahoma City's going to make it to the finals either.
yes, but I would like to have that nugget in my back pocket.
Of course, yes, but I just think they can't. I don't see them going all out in terms of their key guys' minutes
Yeah,
for that. I could be wrong, but we'll see.
I think they'll let the chips fall
I would
where they
I would
get
be
to.
scared to play the Thunder in the finals.
That'll be a good problem to worry about,
Yeah.
Tyvus, if we
At
get
that
there.
place, that's
The
house
torture
money.
chamber is real, man. And Donovan can't shake
If this season ends with the Cavs
Oh,
losing
my
a hard-fought finals to the Thunder, I think we all had it's disappointing, but it would have been a hell of a season.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
All
Mike.
right, last topic let's get to today. Before we do that, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you want overtime content every day, you got to be a member of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports. So there's 2 different membership tiers for $199 a month. That's the starters tier package. It gets you loyalty badges, custom emojis, and members-only community posts. For $4.99 a month, you are a starters tier member that gets all the same advantages as the starter pack. Plus, overtime videos, member shout-outs, discount codes for merch, and more. But those daily overtime videos, it is extra content from the UCSS squad every day except for Fridays. And it is definitely worth the small investment of $4.99 a month. So make sure you guys tune in and become a Coach's Tier member. Let's go back to the Browns for our final topic of the day.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett has made his trade request incredibly public. Yesterday, Adam Schefter was on the Pat McAfee show and said, as of this point, the Browns haven't changed their stance. They aren't willing to trade him. But as we saw from Diana Rossini and we talked about yesterday, that could just be temporary. My question for you guys today is, have the Browns done enough in terms of trying to win?
Well, why are we asking this question, first of all, Mike?
Well, Myles had said, my views don't
Yeah.
align with where the Browns are moving forward. And it just made me think. Granted, they've swung and missed on a bunch of their potential
But didn't
moves.
somebody specifically say the Browns haven't tried hard enough or no? Like, where did this come from? I thought somebody had said it. Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
More just my thinking. If someone said it, I missed it.
Okay.
But I was more just thinking.
I say they don't be serious all the time.
So, G, let me ask you this question to start then. Since they drafted Myles in 2017, do you believe the Browns have done enough in terms of trying to win? Not necessarily the end result because we know they haven't won, but have they done enough in terms of trying to win to appease Myles Garrett?
No. I'll give you 2 examples where they punted on the season. The first opportunity they punted on the season was when Deshaun Watson got suspended for 11 games. After he got suspended, they did nothing. They didn't get defense. They were like, oh, Deshaun Watson's out 11 games. We're not making any changes in terms of let's get some linebackers in here. Let's get some more defensive linemen to help bolster this run game. They basically that's when the coin gentleman's punt was
that the D tackle year?
Yeah, that was
crucified him every game.
That was the year that people started going around. The Browns don't value linebackers like that. Okay, we got that. There's also a couple of years ago where when Baker Mayfield got hurt, they just ran him out there. And it was like, we're using this season to prove that Baker is not worth that money. And they ran him out there, and they had an opportunity to make the playoffs and do something, but Baker was hurt. They ran him out there, and they forfeited the whole season. We're like, dude, this is what we ended up with? So there was multiple times in which you get a situation where the Cleveland Browns have punted on seasons where, we're trying to be competitive, but we got a 3 to 5 year plan, but we're still dealing with. We talk about, hey, let's go get some. It was years they didn't get no receivers. We got Donovan Peoples-Jones. It's a 6th round pick, dog. They couldn't. You just went with you.
Hey, DPJ was only like a couple yards short from 1,000.
Hey, let's get DeAndre Hunter. Nah, we good. We straight. What we got. There's been multiple times. There's times where, guess what?
Didn't they trade for Elijah Moore that year? Wasn't that the year they got Elijah Moore?
That is not supposed to be a high note. Elijah Moore is not getting it done.
You know what? Okay, I think, they got Elijah Moore, then we kept saying get D-Hop. Okay,
yes.
I had to figure it out. Go ahead.
So there's multiple times where you look at this roster and there's opportunities to get this roster better. Some people say you forfeited and punted when they say you could have brought Joe Flacco back to be competitive. You didn't bring him back. There's multiple times where you're looking around. Joe Woods could have was supposed to be out here a whole year prior. You let him have a whole season, and you. So the Browns have not done all they could do to signify to help Myles Garrett. They still haven't found him a running mate on the other side. Now I will say they brought Clowney in. They had Olivier Vernon. They drafted Emmanuel Ogba, but.
Okay, they tried.
They tried there.
All right.
But when it comes to a lot of the other stuff that they be having going on, we got our picks and the little Minimowski moves and deals. They're not moving around. Oh, and Zac Jackson just put it like this. They best players is from a whole nother man.
Well, we've been Travis, what say you?
You is off the hook.
Yeah.
You off the hook. They best players from a different
Your best players from a whole nother. Come on, man.
That's a fact. It's a fact. But anyways, I don't think it's fair to say that they haven't tried. Like that's G pointed out some stuff. Yeah,
that was wild.
That could be true. But like to say that they haven't tried is crazy work. Like that's ridiculous. Like they literally just they mortgaged their future to try to make it work.
When it was too late.
What do you mean it was too late? Nick Chubb just came off of a 1,200 yard season.
What I'm saying is, you did that move to cover up for the move that you forfeited and punted when you was letting Baker run out there hurt.
Yeah, because they wanted to make sure that they had the decision that he wasn't the guy.
Okay, you forfeit. We don't care about that.
You're right, because I said, first of all, they forfeited because somebody should have stepped up and said, you ain't playing. Like
they wasted a year.
That should have been a thing.
That's
1,000%. But outside of that, I don't see
Here's
how
the deal.
They did.
No offense to G. Bush, he's completely out of pocket for the situation. Now, you can shit on the Browns for 1,000 things.
Yes.
Almost everything they do is shit-worthy. Okay? They do everything wrong pretty much. But the one thing that I can't blame them for these last few years is effort.
Thank you.
That's the one thing. They gave up 3 first-round picks plus and did what no team in the history of the sport has done, guaranteed 200 whatever million to a quarterback because they were all in on trying to win. Now you say, okay, they did nothing when he got suspended. What were they supposed to do?
Go get a defensive tackle. So
a defensive tackle was going to make them win?
So hold on. This is my thing. So that's my thing.
Yeah.
So when Myles Garrett says you're not trying to win, you're saying, oh, well, we weren't going to win anyway. How are you proving his point?
They spent in free agency, G. I mean, what D tackle were they supposed to get that was going to turn them around?
No, they did not.
They have spent every year.
No.
They spent more money. The Browns are spending more cash than any team in football.
After they didn't get no D tackles and the season was over, they went and got Dalvin Thompson next year, Maurice Hurst next year.
You can't spend at every position every year.
Bro, nobody
does that.
Bro, you can't miss on draft picks and then still not get free agents.
Okay, but wait a second. Missing on free agents doesn't mean you're not trying. It means you suck at how you tried.
No, they didn't get free agents. And they missed on
They
draft
didn't at that one position that year, but every year consistently the Browns have spent in free agency.
If you are Myles Garrett, you play defensive line, and they run the ball down your throat, and you got Tommy Togiai next to you. Do you not think you had Rochelle? You had guys off the street,
but I'm not disagreeing that they did a shitty job of filling that position.
They tried.
I just don't think it was because they weren't trying to win. I don't buy that they weren't trying to win. Once Watson first of all, we thought the Watson was going to be suspended 6 games, right?
Right.
That was a big difference. By the time he got suspended 11 games, weren't we almost at the start of the season? I don't even remember exactly when it happened.
It was, I think, August, the beginning of August.
Right, so, like, what at that point, what could they have done? Like, who were you adding that, like, you had Jacoby Brissett. It was just so good you can be. The Baker year, like, again, would they have, so they could have played Case Keenum. Were they winning anything with Case Keenum?
They won the game against the Bengals.
That's one game, but, like, you're not winning in the playoffs with Case Keenum even if they got there.
So this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The reason what Myles Garrett is saying, and he's trying to get to you guys to understand, there's the micro and then there's the macro. The Browns are operating at the macro level where they're like, we're not gonna do that because it doesn't matter right now because we don't have a quarterback, or it doesn't matter because we had to figure out what was going on with Baker. It doesn't matter. And Myles Garrett is saying, while you guys have the luxury of saying it doesn't matter and looking at the big picture, I'm putting my body on the line every single year, and I got to continue to go out here and play with guys that aren't getting it done.
And Myles Garrett saying he wants to leave because he don't want to take any more hits, with a not a legit chance to win a Super Bowl. I agree with him. I get it.
I do too.
I'm just saying I don't think it's because of a lack of effort. I think it's a lack of execution.
I agree with that.
They did it wrong.
They missed.
They tried to win and they screwed it all up.
I will give them the last year with Deshaun Watson. I think they went all in. They moved the coordinator. They tried to move things around. They tried to get him comfortable in this new playbook. They made concessions on and off the field. They did all of that. I'll give them credit for that. But that's the equivalent of somebody being like, I didn't study for the first 3 years.
I just don't agree that.
But then you crammed the night before a test. You knew it was coming.
Yeah.
You didn't study Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but guess what? Friday, before the test, you crammed. And then you say, but I was working hard, though. You're like, no, you were working hard this year. You lost the other 4 years.
I just don't agree with that because, to me, there's no bigger effort than trading for Deshaun. There were teams not willing to do that. There were teams not willing to go all in.
Because they were desperate at that point.
And I think the one thing is that I understand what you're saying, where it seems like they didn't address certain things. Like, for example, you say the D-tackle thing. I think when you look at that season, I was with you. I kept beating a dead horse. Like, how are y'all going out there with no D-tackles? But I think at that same breath, I think that was the year that they was trying to – didn't they have just draft Jordan Elliott? Wasn't he their defensive tackle?
Yeah,
so, like,
Jordan
I think so. Where AB and them, where they struggled was the guys that they drafted. They literally gave them extended time to try to figure things out. To when it was time to move off, it was a little late. Like, you should have noticed a long time ago. But that was the fault of them because there was like, this is our first year. Like, we drafted that guy. We want to owe that guy the opportunity to go out there and keep his job. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they weren't good, a regular GM would have been like, all right, he ain't getting it done. Let me go get somebody else. But they flaws was, I invested in that guy, I drafted that guy, so I'm going to leave that guy in there. And they shouldn't have done that.
I'm going to give you this, like, because I like the point you just made. I think there's a bit of, when you are young as a general manager and a coach, some of the moves that you make can come off as incompetent, right?
Yes.
And in that case, I think Andrew Berry, it's not like they're just, we forget how young Kevin Stefanski is.
They've only been doing this for 5 years.
This is the first time that he's been a GM, first time Stefanski's been a head coach. So there's a lot of different things that go on that can come off a lot of different ways. And for Myles Garrett, when he said my ideology doesn't line up with that, Myles Garrett is at a different point in his life.
Yeah.
And I think I agree with you guys. It's not the fact that I'm saying it's 100% that they don't care and they're not trying. That would be disingenuous because everybody wants to keep their job and do a good job. Sometimes there are some things that I think that they realize, oh yeah, next time if we get to that point, we got to pull the trigger quicker on that one.
Sure. They made a ton of mistakes. I mean, think about this. I'll say this, right? Obviously the Bengals overall have been a much better team than the Browns the last few years. The Bengals have a quarterback, the Browns don't. But
stop saying that.
But the frustrating thing as a Bengals fan is now Joe Burrow is doing all he can to try to force the Bengals' hand to sign guys.
Mm-hmm.
I still think T. Higgins is gone.
He should go to the
If T. Higgins were on the Browns, he's not gone. The Browns are signing him. The one thing you can say about the Browns, they don't let, in recent years, now there haven't been that many, but they don't let their good players get away.
Yeah.
Now they may have to with Myles Garrett, their hands being forced. He wants to get away, but T. Higgins doesn't want to. T. Higgins wants to stay with the Bengals, but they're not going to pay him probably. If this was the same situation, if the Browns had the Bengals roster, Trey Hendrickson would have an extension ready. Jamar Chase would have an extension ready. T. Higgins would have an extension ready. And I can't stand Jimmy Haslam.
Right.
And I don't think Andrew Berry's good. But if the Browns had the Bengals roster, those three guys would have extensions. It'd be a non-issue.
It'd be no problem. It
Unfortunately, that's not the case.
And, so hopefully, for the Browns, they learn and say, okay, well, I think there's another thing it is the Browns aren't very transparent, and they don't do a great job of communicating. That's Zach sat here and talked about it. I said you had problems with Deshaun Watson, Stefanyski. You had problems with Baker and Stefanyski. You had problems with all.
That's fair.
Even DTR, he don't even know when he's playing.
That's 100% fair criticism.
And I hate that.
That's ridiculous.
And it's like, hey, look, Myles Garrett is saying, look, guys, I have to come out here and I got to perform. But come on, man, we got to button that up a little bit.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Agreed. Did you guys see Joe Thomas's 4 or 5 minute video on Myles Garrett?
Yeah.
How good was that?
It was.
You played it yesterday?
Excellent.
On the show, yeah.
It was excellent.
I didn't see it. Give me the team.
The way he talked about, go see it if you haven't. The way he talked about, he's obviously bummed as a Browns fan and a Browns alum that Myles Garrett wants to go, but I saw somebody said Joe should shut up. Joe said nothing bad about Myles Garrett. Not a single bad thing. He said, I understand. And the way he put it about how, almost like every play Myles Garrett plays is a scoop out of how many plays he's got left.
He's one play closer
and just
to
the way, I can't remember exactly how he put it, but it was like, oh my God, I never quite thought of it that way. And you need a former player to explain it that way. That was so good, and it made even more sense, even though I kind of understood why Myles Garrett wanted out anyway. After listening to Joe, I understood it even more, even though it's disappointing as a fan, especially when he's doing every interview and talking about the teams. It sucks, but I understand where he's coming from. I completely get it. If I was Myles Garrett, I would want to play for a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And there's been criticisms. At times, Myles hasn't been the hardest worker. But Myles can get away with that because he's super talented. And I get it that he wants to be able to win now, and he's not going to win here right now.
For Myles' career, I think, I always think about Von Miller in the Panthers Super Bowl, just the way he just took over. And I want to see Myles on that stage have that moment. I just want to see if he can do that because I think he can.
Yeah.
And the Browns just not going to be there in the next 2 years. It's just not going to happen.
Now, ultimately, the Browns have to make a trade that's best for them, not necessarily for Myles Garrett.
Correct.
But no team that's bad is going to want to trade for him anyway.
No, he's going. He will go to a contender.
He'll go to at least a mid-tier team.
They would look at him like this guy's going to be a difference maker. Yeah, final piece.
You're not giving up 2 picks plus unless you think he's the final piece to a Super Bowl.
Correct.
Go ahead, Mike.
Real quick before we get to Super Chats, we put a poll in the chat.
Yeah.
Have the Browns tried enough or no? And for the first time in UCSS history, the chat agrees with Bull. They say overwhelmingly they tried enough. They failed, but they tried enough.
Nobody's debating whether they failed or not.
Yeah, they failed.
They did it. They screwed it up, but I don't think it was because of effort.
Super Chats got a couple. First one comes from RMac Dog, who says the Texans are a great player away from being a contender, and if they're interested in Myles, would they do a trade if the Browns want draft picks? Maybe they can take Watson's contract back.
Nobody's taking Watson's contract. And by the way, even if you found a team to take Watson's contract, which I'd say is basically impossible, 99.999% impossible, then you'd get nothing back. You'd have to get no draft pick. You'd have to trade Myles Garrett and Watson for nothing, essentially.
So what you're going to need to do is you need to find a sucker and get your money back for Myles Garrett and fleece somebody.
Yeah.
You've been fleeced.
Yeah.
You have to fleece somebody.
That's right. That's it. Forget putting Watson into a Myles Garrett trade. You're stuck with that money. You got to live with it. You get the most you can from Myles Garrett.
You got to get your get back.
Yeah.
That's what Andrew Berry got to do.
I think our chief Mac Dog is a veteran, so he's a good man.
Shout out to
every
him.
veteran's a good
Yeah.
man, but I know he's a good man.
Next one comes from Salesh Sastry, who says, DeAndre Hunter looks like a likable player. Kudos to Kobe for picking men of character. That aspect is so underrated in comparisons to apples elsewhere.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Anthony Edwards is low-key joining my top 10 disliked players in the NBA list.
Oh, man.
I'm souring on it. I don't like him.
Anthony Edwards was pulling up from, like, he was
What did he
jacked.
finish with, 46, 44?
Man.
He was on fire in the third
I
quarter.
don't understand.
I'm telling you, that
they'll never go back to the finals.
Yeah.
They're done.
By the way,
Timberwolves.
kudos to Anthony Edwards. Those were all some clutch points there in the third quarter.
He said they'll
Mick
never
McGee
Yeah.
Never.
says Joe Flacco was a Super Bowl quarterback that came to Cleveland, so there's hope.
Offense.
Joe Flacco was at the end of his rope. He didn't have much of a choice.
Some
was on the
weird
street.
guy,
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's a very weird person, named Steve K.
Yeah.
99% sure it's Director Steve.
Yeah.
So definitely a weird guy.
Yeah.
Says, big fan of the show, watch it almost every day. The panel is great, so is the Behind the Glass crew. I hope that media member Tyvis has a long career in broadcasting, longer than his very brief NFL, in parentheses, career.
Smoke.
Good.
Even
But
from his house.
I hope he enjoyed his butter pecan.
Hey, what you need to do is go by his house, find
And
a nice.
egg it.
You gotta take his house.
No, that's not even.
TP the thing.
No, that's not good enough. What you need to do is walk by a patch of ice on the sidewalk and fall all over the sports.
Last
Steve
two
is
super chats
hilarious.
Yeah.
both come from Sabator the 216. First one, they're both about DeAndre Hunter. First one is DeAndre Hunter just being gigantic is a plus defensively. He struggles with screens, but I like his deadpan stare. He looks like the demon in Death Note. If you know, you know. Also, started to think Hunter needs to find ways to monetize this nonstop mentioning about his length. It's the damn Pause Olympics out here, G.
Man,
Pause.
hey man, listen. He like they talked about how he sets hard picks, man. I tell you what, man. Length, size, girth.
What are some of the events in the Pause Olympics? We discussed that more in overtime
He is
next.
out of his mind today.
We'll see ya. See you in overtime.